sell you a car. Hassles and no hidden fees. Now during Ford Truck Month, shop and save on our incredible selection of new Ford F-150s, F-150 Lightnings, F-250s, and F-350s. Need an SUV? Baxter Ford has hundreds of new models available. Bronco, Bronco Sport, Escape, and more. Shop, save, and drive home your new truck now during Ford Truck Month from Baxter Ford.
No two people learn the exact same way. So how did Babbel become the award-winning language learning app? We thought of you, all of you. Take Sierra. As a visual learner, she uses Babbel's wordplay videos.
Today I'll share a quick lesson on shopping in French.
Merci beaucoup. Keith is a be in the room with real people kind of learner, so he loves the live online classes with our language experts.
Okay, class. Vos está pronto.
Estamos prontos.
However you learn, Babbel makes it easy. Try Babbel for free at babbel.com. Babbel.com.
Live from 50th and Capitol Avenue in the Big O. This is Gary and Matt on 1620 The Zone. 1620thezone.com and 1620 The Zone TV. Now here's Gary, Matt, and Jake.
Good Thursday morning. The day is here. Day one of the two greatest days, I believe, in sports watching. The NCAA tournament is upon us, and it is one of the bigger days in Omaha sports history as two teams from the O will be in action early today and later tonight. You're listening to Gary and Matt. I'm Matt McMaster.
The only show on the Zone today.
The only show on the Zone today and tomorrow. we could call ourselves the hardest working people in the building because we
are the zone.
We are the straw that stirs the drink for the next 2 days on this wonderful radio station. Matt McMaster, joined by Gary Sharp and Jimmy Chavez. Mr. Sharp.
You had a date.
Mr. Sharp. Wow.
Mr. Sharp. It is the day you've been waiting for. It's
I
the
prefer
day
G-Funk, but
that it's the day.
Hey, this is why PTO is created for the next 2 days. All the excuses you have to get out of work, you've thought about them for a whole year, and now you're ready to put them to use. That you're not going to go to work today. You're going to be unproductive. At 11 o'clock, you're going to shut it down. You're going to watch Creighton, Louisville to start your day, and then you're going to go to bed with me. I mean, that's kind of your whole day, and there's a lot of basketball that is in the middle, so it all works out really, really well. But first, I have to ask you guys, because here in Providence, Rhode Island, where the Mavs take on the Johnnies of St. John's tonight.
Oh yeah, you missed a humdinger yesterday.
Yeah, so all I see on national TV for the last 15 hours or so is Omaha still standing?
Yeah.
I mean, does Omaha, Nebraska still exist? Are we going to have a place to come back to sometime this weekend?
It was awful. Okay. It was terrible. Like, I was on Dodge, granted going like 25 miles an hour, and the visibility was getting concerning. Like, it was like the wind, the howling,
he went east.
the
I
snow.
went west.
He went west. He went into it. He had to go 20 minutes into it. I went 5 minutes away from it, and it was terrible. Now, here's the thing, though. It was cold, and it was snowing, and it was hard walking. The roads weren't terrible. It was like the type of snow.
It was the slush.
It was soft snow. It was Charmin soft snow. Like,
Heart
you
attack
couldn't
snow.
really, like, your car was way too heavy to slide on it, if you know what I mean. Or at least my car was too heavy for me to slide on it.
I
Maybe
wasn't
that's
about to
because
go
I drive
find
a
out.
four-wheeler, or it's because I'm just so big and I just, weigh the car down. But regardless of the fact, no, it's fine. What's incredible, though, is that I literally contemplated playing 18 holes of golf 14 hours before it occurred. And the day before literally was like
83,
the nicest day. You missed, well, you didn't really miss it. You were here for part of it, but you were like it was a super incredible day.
It'll be all
then
gone by the time you get back
It
Sunday.
turned into what, I mean, honestly, for the Creighton Blue Jay burner people who call this place Moscow, I imagine it looked like St. Petersburg in the winter for a good 8 hours yesterday. So, we've survived. At last, we persevere.
Hey, it must not have been that bad because, there have been lesser storms that have knocked the power out at my house. And I don't think the power ever went off at my house yesterday.
I never flickered
here yesterday.
I never flickered. The one, what was that big half thunderstorm, half blizzard we had? What was that, a week and a half ago, 2 weeks, right? My power went out. That was knocked out for a good 2 hours. We stood still the entire time. It was fine. It was one of those like crappy ones, but it definitely looked a lot worse.
Hey, the last day of winter went out with a bang.
It was.
Yeah, today is the spring equinox. Did you guys celebrate like an hour ago?
I did.
It's now spring. It coincides with, as Matt, you appropriately put it, maybe one of the greatest days in the history of basketball in the city of Omaha, where the two men's basketball teams are playing in the NCAA tournament. So
it is a day that a lot of people have been looking forward to. By the way, yesterday, that storm, the classic looks like Tarzan plays like Jane. I just want to throw that out there. I mean, it wasn't that bad. But today...
Whoa. Texter Jeremy says it was brutal.
Yeah.
I would go it was that bad.
It was
the worst one of the season.
It looked bad. If you stayed, everybody stayed indoors. There was no reason to go outside.
This
Everything was
drive was
canceled.
5 minutes.
Other than our great, first responders and essential care workers. Thank you so much for doing what you do. But, for a lot of other people, work was canceled. They stayed in. It was okay. But yes, coincides today, spring equinox, the greatest day of one of the greater days of Omaha men's athletics. Two teams, 30 blocks away from each other. No.
This is the greatest day in the history of Omaha men's athletics.
Okay, done.
They're in the NCAA tournament. Their name is going to be on. I'm not saying you because you agree with me on this.
Oh, I do.
You have to embrace this. This is a game changer for this athletic department, and I have seen it since they won in Sioux Falls against St. Thomas. Is they are acting like a big time athletic program where there is money flowing in strictly for men's basketball. There is attention. The people that are in the athletic department that are super talented have gotten a chance to shine. Their work is being seen by more, like graphics and video and pictures and information that is out there. It has been a hell of a 10-day run for Omaha Athletics, and it will coincide tonight with an incredible challenge. I mean, no one is saying Omaha is going to ride this wave, and that immediately means they're going to beat St. John's, because I'm telling you, this is a monumental challenge for Omaha tonight, but it has happened before. But it is tonight at 8:45 Central Time. And yesterday, I mean, Omaha is on a floor that's got March Madness logos all over it. I mean, we've got Trooper Donahue from the Rhode Island State Patrol is our escort everywhere.
That was awesome.
Hey, I have loosened that guy up. More on him in a moment. But tonight, I mean, it started on Sunday when Omaha had their name announced, and all of the free publicity that has happened since then. The great media, and I want to shout them out. Mike Sauter from Herd Ad is here. They have a photographer as well. I'm not sure of his name. Then they have Grace from Channel 6. Lauren from Channel 7 is here. Wilson Moore is here from the World Herald because he doesn't have anything to cover with Nebraska basketball. So the media attention has been fantastic. But tonight when they tip off on CBS, big CBS, not CBS Sports Network, where the program has been 3 times this year, but big CBS, Omaha is going to be mentioned a ton. And so it's like the day, and all the people that are here. I mean, the students drove 22 hours on a bus from Omaha to get here to Providence. They got here last night. Flying in, the band and the dance team were part of our contingent. You got a lot of I saw former players that were at the practice yesterday. It was pretty cool. Alums that live here on the Eastern Seaboard are there. So tonight's just a mammoth moment for Omaha men's basketball. And now all of that's over. And at 8:45, they get the challenge of playing St. John's and a chance to pull off a wild upset. I mean, look at who would have thought if you went to bed early last night that you'd wake up and we tell you that Xavier came back and beat Texas. I mean, anything can happen today.
Absolutely.
Including Creighton beating Louisville.
We'll get to that in a second because as I dive more and more into the Louisville Creighton matchup, I kind of do like it more for Creighton. And I'll tell you why. And it's the other way around, but we have plenty of time to get to that. We have a really, really good show for you today. We have Sarah Baker Hansen coming on at 9:00, followed up by Steve Sipple at 9:20. And then we will end the day where you get to make a little money with Brian Edwards at 9:40. The lineup is brought to you by the Rooferys at John Higgins Weather Guard. Listen, I don't think there is a better team and a better network for Omaha to play in terms of the attention that they're going to get tonight, because there are going to be a lot of people who have been riding high on this St. John's Rick Pitino PR run, who want to see the Johnnies go all the way. It's going to be kind of the nightcap for a lot of people. Hey, we're going to tune in. We're going to see these guys play. And who's going to be there? Little old Omaha on the main CBS network, playing that game. And like we've seen this the last 2 days with these 16 seed playing games, right? Where, Mount St. Mary's yesterday, Alabama State the day before, American, lost the game, but they still played in it. Like the attention that these schools get that otherwise they wouldn't get that attention is absolutely incredible from the NCAA tournament. But funny enough for you, and I think it's so unique, you've been here in this exact position before, 15 seed, playing an East Coast darling 2 seed in Georgetown. And, that was over a decade ago. Like, have things changed? I would like to think that your setup and the experience that you're having is a little bit different. But if there was any company or corporation or wherever the hell you want to call the NCAA, if there was any body that was in place that maybe would make things a little bit worse a decade later, it might be them. But like, how has the event been? Just for you, just being around.
You mean the NCAA tournament?
Yeah, I mean, being an announcer at the NCAA tournament.
Oh, I mean,
for your Powerade Cup yet?
You've done it. Has it changed at all?
No, not really. I mean, it's still the lure of the NCAA tournament. I don't know. It's tough to tell, like on practice day, and unlike Omaha, you do some comparing, like what Brandon and Kevin and the rest of Creighton have done when the tournament is here. They do an excellent job. And I'm not saying Providence does a poor job. It's just a smaller arena. It barely seats 13,000.
Okay.
So it's a little bit smaller arena. It's cold in there because the Providence Bruins of the AHL play, and so the ice is still down. it's an older building, but and there weren't a lot of people there yesterday, even for when St. John's, because St. John's went, then Kansas, then Omaha to finish the day of open practice. And there weren't a ton of people. It's kind of interesting. Like the media coverage, like TV stations are live outside of the AMP, but they've got Bryant, who is a local school, is playing against Michigan State. That's almost gotten as much attention. And Bryce Hopkins going into the portal yesterday from Providence almost got as much attention. Now they will support it. There's a lot of cool bars that are right around the arena. But I don't know. It's tough to say on practice day. But today will be big time because look at the coaches. And then when you get to the nighttime, there are 3 Hall of Famers that are coaching. You got Self and Calipari, and you got Patino, and then you have Chris Crutchfield, who is just getting started. He got a little bit later start at the age of 56 in his 3rd year as a head coach. So it'll ramp up. I mean, it's a great event to cover it in person, to watch it on TV. It's one of the great moments of sports. It is why PTO was created, was for these next 2 days.
You save up. That's why you stack the days over and over again. Then you tell your boss, sayonara, I'll see you Monday. Heck,
that's why it makes it the coolest thing that Omaha Athletics has ever done, is to play in this tournament. And I can tell you, like when you're Creighton and this becomes something that is expected and you find a way to get there every year, is once you get here, and kind of, we were talking about this sitting around last night at dinner. You're like, okay, now how do you get back next year? How do you not wait another 9 years before you get back in the NCAA tournament? So it's fun. I hope a lot of people tune in. We'll be over on Coil tonight, beginning at 8:15. The game is scheduled to begin at 8:45, which is 9:45 local time.
Right up your alley.
People are gonna have to get a nap in.
Advantage Omaha. Yeah. Advantage Omaha in my regard. Whenever you have a morning game or whenever you have a night game, I always feel like the underdog or the team that you least expect to win has the advantage, because it's not normal. When the circumstances change, the team that we might think is better, I feel like has a disadvantage in that regard. So I love the 9:45 tip-off for the Mavericks. I do. But I'll say this.
Does that mean that R.J. Lewis and Ejiofor and
they're going to be sleeping?
Richmond, they don't show up?
No. Well, let me tell you something right now. You have guys who they take 12 o'clock naps, or they take 1 o'clock naps before a 7 o'clock game. Now, when you push back those naps to 3, 4 o'clock, they don't really know when they're supposed to take a nap. So what if they took their nap a little bit too late, and R.J. Lewis comes to the game and he's a little groggy? He's not woken up. Omaha jumps on top, 22-point lead. Hold on for dear life, Irene.
22-point lead, you'd stop the game and walk off the floor if you had a 22-point lead against St. John's. It is kind of different. So, like, the bus for Omaha, the team bus doesn't leave the hotel here until like 7:50 tonight.
Jesus.
We played late. The Summit League championship game didn't start till like 8:15.
What time do you guys typically leave, like, for the bus? Like, if you're in a away game,
they like to be in the arena. Most college basketball teams like to be in the arena no later than 90 minutes before tip.
Okay.
So usually guys come out on the floor and they do a little bit of shooting an hour before, and then the team stuff begins about 35 minutes before. So they're not leaving until 7:50, but they're not also getting up until I think wake up call today is like at 9. They have a team breakfast like at 9:30.
It's 40 minutes away, right? The hotel from the arena. Is that what you're talking about?
Oh, no. We got a police escort.
Oh, you got
even the bad drivers here in Rhode Island on 95. They get the hell out the way. I mean, we got Trooper Donahue, man. He just became a trooper. So he has been with us since we've been here. We got a police escort out of town the other day. We got a police escort once we landed at the private airport here in Providence. And this state trooper has been with us the entire time. And he's been super, like, in character. Like, he hasn't broken character. He is like stone-faced. He doesn't say much. Yesterday was the first day that we loosened him up because I always talk to him. I asked him, hey, can I ride with you in the state patrol vehicle? Yeah. And he goes, I don't think I can do that. And I was like, okay, I tried. But he was given like knucks to all the guys getting off the bus yesterday. He is
he looks like he's straight out of a Smokey Bear commercial.
Yeah, he's pretty aggressive, like people have cut in front of the convoy And like, so he, he honks his horn and flashes his lights and turns on the sirens.
Trooper Donahue doesn't take no S.
Yeah, but yesterday I loosened him up. He finally started to smile. He told me, because I said, hey, I want to take a picture. So I asked him if he's ever seen Me, Myself, and Irene, the Jim Carrey movie about a Rhode Island police officer. And the first time I asked him, he didn't say anything. And I thought, oh boy, this is going to be a long stay with this guy, because we're a lot of the guys around our program are super loose and they're funny and they like to talk to people. And so yesterday was the first day that he loosened up. And so he told me that he would love to, but I couldn't ride in his, I couldn't be part of the police escort. And then he was on the floor with us during warmups, because he's our security detail as well. And I said, hey, can we take a picture of you? And he goes, let me get back to you. So he walked off the floor back into one of the tunnels to get on his cell phone. He came back and he goes, my desk sergeant said I could. So that's when we took the picture of him and Chris Crutchfield. So he's going to be loose. He's going to be super loose today. But my gosh, how about that outfit?
He looks incredible. He looks absolutely incredible. I mean, it is.
He should break a trash can.
He looks like he was taking a picture, and I looked at him and I go, that is the type of guy where when he was 9 years old, he said, I want to be a trooper. He looks like the type of dude where he grew up. That was his absolute dream. I also love it too. Mr. Protocol, calling the desk sergeant, see if he take a picture. If anyone can corrupt anybody.
He said, because then he really started to talk to old Sharpie. Yeah. He's only been a trooper since December.
Oh, okay.
He wants to do everything.
He's on his probationary period, as he told me.
Hey, him and I both. I mean, I understand. I totally understand what that is like. You got to make sure that you do all the things right. But look, you said earlier, it's one hell of a draw for Omaha and one hell of a challenge to get St. John's. I want to throw this out here though, because I feel like I've been tasked to a little bit to just give the good vibes, give people hope, throw it out there, just kind of, hey, I understand that St. John's is a challenge for everybody, and St. John's has looked like an absolute juggernaut, especially in February. But you know what? Do you know who we're talking about? Talking about the Omaha Mavericks. Okay, so I do want to throw this out here. St. John's, 47 points from 2 per game. They're third in the country in that regard, right? And so obviously this game is going to come down to clearing the boards, not turning the ball over, and hitting your threes, right? Because if you are going to be a 15 seed that upsets a 2 seed, that's exactly what you're going to have to do. If there are some teams in Power 5 who literally are not built to do that. They are not built to consistently have the size to clear the boards, have the ability to shoot 3-pointers, and can hold on to the ball. Gary, Omaha has those guys. Omaha has some size in the middle to clear the boards. Omaha's got the length with Cam Thomas and Markel Sutton to guard the perimeter. They got the shooters in Lance Waddles and Tony Osborne and J.J. White to hit the threes, and they got a great floor general, and they're not the worst turnover team ever. You guys relatively
thank you.
Like you take care of the ball pretty well. Like, this is a thing. I don't know. I haven't showed it to you yet, and unfortunately you won't be on when we get into it.
Oh, you scared me. I thought you collapsed. Okay.
What's that say? Matt's?
It says Matt's big board.
Our boy's been busy.
It says Matt's big board here.
Yeah.
I've picked my 4 best games of the day right here, and if you flip it to the back, I've picked the rest of the games here as well. You want to look at the top? It says Omaha plus 18 with a star. And
so what does the star mean?
Well, the star means is that I ran out of room on the main page, and I would have put it on the main page. But
he's our own Jimmy the Greek.
I had to put it on the star. I like it, guys, tonight. I'm going to the Warhorse. I'm putting plus 18, baby. I like it. Right? I think you guys have a better chance and a better matchup than I think people are giving you credit for.
Thank you. I would more than just like to cover. I would like to win the game, but I also know reality. And there's a little bit of, Omaha has not faced a team like St. John's since Iowa State, and they were competitive for the first 12 minutes. Now, Omaha is definitely a better team than when they played Iowa State, but Iowa State was super physical and had really good guards, and they got up on you. Nobody really in the Summit League does that. And so Omaha's been able to navigate that while they've gotten their legs on the ground and they've become a better basketball team. The thing that worries me about St. John's is their physicality, but also their defense. If this game becomes a half-court game, Omaha's in trouble. If St. John's tries to press Omaha, that actually works to their favor, because then I think Omaha can get out and run, and they'll get a chance to get some open looks. But you're absolutely right. They've got to hit threes. They got to have Tony, and they got to have JJ, and they got to have Lance, and even Markel, who is a below 30% three-point shooter. They got to step out and make some shots. It's the one thing I do know for sure about this team is they will play smart. They will play hard. And they will throw a couple of wrinkles at St. John's that maybe they haven't seen. Depth's going to be a big thing. Omaha's not gifted at the 5-man. Markel probably has a bad matchup tonight, so it comes down to the guards. But I don't think Omaha will get overwhelmed. It's just, can they find that 4 or 5 minute stretch in either half where they don't go on a scoring drought? And when they're on a scoring drought, St. John's goes on a 12-0 run. Can they keep it manageable? And they kind of talked about this yesterday about playing the game in segments, from the first media timeout to the second media timeout to the third media timeout, how important the last 4 are and the first 4. If they can do all of those things, then they can kind of hang around. But then you run into the one thing that I really appreciate about St. John's is, with about 10 minutes to go in a game, and remember, this is a team that's 30-4, and their 4 losses are by 7 points. They've lost one game since they lost in Omaha on New Year's Eve. With about 10 minutes to go, they just shut the water off. And St. John's, like they did against Creighton the other night, you go from being down 2 or up 2 to the next thing you know, you're up 15. Because all of a sudden they've gotten stops, that they've gotten runouts, and they've hit shots. They don't shoot the 3 very well. They don't shoot free throws. I think they'll get to the free throw line a lot tonight, because Omaha does have a tendency to foul. But if they're not good from the free throw line and they keep Omaha in the game, and the longer it goes, it's a benefit for Omaha. So I don't think Omaha will be overwhelmed. I think guys are up for the challenge. Just they had a really good practice yesterday at Providence, their closed practice, where it was super intense, and they basically played 5-on-6. So they're prepared for tonight. It's just, you also don't have the factor. St. John's hasn't been in the NCAA tournament in a while. So these guys playing haven't worn St. John's uniforms in the tournament. It's just, that bright lights when you get behind
all day.
Yeah. But you got an experienced point guard who I don't think, unlike back in December and November against Power 5 teams, where Omaha, when they fell behind, they really fell behind. I don't think JJ will allow them to do that tonight. They're a better team than they were when they played Iowa State. It's just going to take their best game of the year to beat St. John's tonight. And I know why it's 18.5. The metrics, and a lot of those metrics were created when Omaha was playing that tough non-con compared to their 18 of 21 that they've won. They say that St. John's should be an 18.5 point favorite. St. John's is good. St. John's is good. They don't have the ingredients that usually equates to an NCAA championship team, but Patino in 12-13, his Louisville team had similar metrics in terms of can't shoot the 3, not great at the free throw line, but they guard the hell out of you. They won a national title.
They're like the 2000 Ravens a little bit, right?
Whoa, all right.
I mean, they're just defense.
Who is Trent Dilfer?
Who's Siragusa? Rest in peace.
Kadary Richmond?
Like, I think RJ Lewis is way better than Trent Dilfer. So maybe that's like the most accurate.
He's the Ray Lewis of the offense for St. John's.
Yeah, exactly. That's the best way to put it. I mean, the defense is they're 70th in KenPom in offense. They are 70th. That is like, how the hell are you one of the best teams in the country and you're 70th in offense?
Number 1 in defense, unfortunately.
Number 1 in defense, and they're so physical and they get on you. And the shut the water off comment, man, I will never forget when they played Marquette. I think it was in the Garden, and that very last, where it was a minute left in the second half, and that defensive possession that they had, where Marquette needed it to stay in the game, and the way they transitioned and scrambled and rotated and cut and blitzed, and like, it was one of the greatest defensive possessions I've ever seen. And it's like, man, when this team knows the game is on the line, and when they lock in, it's almost as if they can stop anybody. And it's what happened against Creighton. And what you saw against Creighton is what you have to make sure doesn't happen against Omaha, and that is they get the momentum from the transition, right? That Creighton game went off the rails because St. John's kept getting steals and they kept pressing them down in transition. If Omaha can just take care of the basketball a little bit and just not allow them to get that momentum through transition, they're going to be able to be in this game for a little bit. And then like all these upsets do. I mean, the number one thing is just, can you get hot? Can you shoot threes? Can you have a darling? Can you get that one shining moment player, at the end of the tournament to win this game? And so, lucky enough for Omaha, you got a couple guys who could be candidates for it.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, hey, styles make fights, so something has to give in this matchup.
Hey, just be a puncher. Just be Wilder against Fury. Land that big right hand, get the knockout, and get moving on.
Yeah.
Hey,
and then you also have to hope that Omaha is not blessed with a ton of size. That at the rim, there's a lot of bunnies that are missed tonight.
Yeah, absolutely. And you just got to clear the boards. Clear the boards, make your free throws, make your threes, play good basketball, keep yourself in it, get the momentum rolling, and don't let them get in the game. Hey, that's one Omaha team that's going to be playing in the NCAA tournament today. The second Omaha team, the Creighton Blue Jays, will be playing first game today. It's actually a pretty good opening slate, as Creighton will be the first game, and then right after, an upset that everybody has picked will be High Point versus Purdue. So, hey, we're going to head into break here. We'll break down the Creighton Blue Jays taking on the Louisville Cardinals. And then, hey, little coaching carousel things happened yesterday. Will Wade is going somewhere. A conference is going to improve because of it. Another SEC coach or a SEC coach may be on the hot seat. Reportedly, he'll be done after his team lost yesterday to Xavier. We'll get into that later in the show. We just have a full day of college basketball, breaking down some of the best games that'll happen. I have my big board behind me. I'll tell you the bets that I like. Brian Edwards will be back here later to tell you the bets that he likes. And then on top of that, we got a little football and a little Sarah Baker Hansen sprinkle. We'll sprinkle in a little sports here and there, but it's all about the tournament. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Gary and Matt.
Saying goodbye to your dog before vacation isn't easy. Those cute little eyes seem to see right through your beach hat and packed suitcase. But your best friend deserves better than an awkward goodbye. At Hound HQ, we turn your vacation into their vacation. Our spacious kennels, indoor and outdoor play spaces, and all-day playtime mean they'll be having just as much fun as you are. Stop telling your pup you're just checking the neighbor's mail. Stop feeling guilty. Visit thehoundhq.com and book your pet's getaway today.
Get started on your next adventure at Woodhouse GMC. No matter where you're headed, we've got a ride built for the journey. Lease the 2024 GMC Canyon AT4 Crew Cab 4x4 for $599 a month for 36 months and 10,000 miles per year. Shop in-store or online at WoodhouseBuickGMC.com. Woodhouse Buick GMC. We are professional grade. With approved credit. Must finance with GM Financial. First payment and $299 doc fee due at signing. Stock number V241217. Offer expires 3/31/2025. See dealer for details.
Gary and Matt are back on 1620 The Zone.
Today is the day the first round of the NCAA tournament begins at 11:15 as the Creighton Blue Jays take on the Louisville Cardinals. Omaha will play later tonight, 9:45 local tip, 8:45 Central Time, which is the current time we are here in Omaha. Mavericks hoping to catch a little fire like Sandro Kalishvili did last night for the San Antonio Spurs, where he scored 34 points in 19 minutes. Why are you shaking your head? You don't like a little Mamu Kalishvili? You don't like that? You don't like that drop on the radio?
That rolled right off your lips really, really well. Nicely done.
Mamu Kalishvili. Look,
which one of us is from San Antonio?
I can't pronounce papuchis, but when we get to these guys from Europe, and let me tell you something right now. I've watched so much UFC that all these guys from Eastern Europe or from Russia or from Georgia, when I see their name, it rolls off my tongue. I've been trained in the Magomedovs and Merab Davalishvilis and the Ankalevs and all the Pedorovs. I'm all when
Nicholas
it comes.
Skidishvili.
I'm telling you right now, man. I can't pronounce your regular domestic American names
like Creighton.
But when it comes to these Croatians and Russians and Georgians and all of them, I got it. There's a science to it. Yes. I knew you were impressed. Mamu Kalishvili.
Nice. Now, let's just go through the hardest names to pronounce that are playing in the NCAA tournament. Go.
The guy from Illinois. Humrichus? Humorkas? Oh, Kasparas Yakachonis.
There you go.
Yes, Yakachonis.
Your guy.
Ivisic. There's a
Milic.
Milicic. It's Milicic, like Darko. It's Milicic. Ziegler. You also have Jocelyn Bodu. That's a good one right there, too.
Federico.
RJ Davis gives me the most trouble.
Yeah, Kalkbrenner probably as well.
Kalkbrenner, too. Ashworth as well. Same thing with Hepburn.
Green's a tough one. Smith is a tough one. Payne is a tough
hard one. Yeah. McAndrew. I mean, I can never get it down.
Light Sutton. I mean, Strite is a tough one because it's not spelled like it is pronounced.
I said street the first time I saw it.
Yeah.
Well, see, I did get that wrong. I accidentally slipped up and said Osborne instead of Osburn earlier, but I've said Tony's name so many different times.
See, in this state, I don't care if it's pronounced Osborne. It is always Osburn to me. Like Tio always had his name mispronounced. But here's the best one. So Isaac Anakane is Omaha's center. He's from Congo.
That's one of those ones. The quicker you say it, the better it sounds. If you can
interesting story. And Isaac is coming back next year. He's a transfer from Lindenwood.
Awesome.
He just randomly dropped not too long ago that he was almost murdered by his brothers. I was like, excuse me?
Like, was he? See, I technically was too, but that was involuntary. Like, my brother thought it'd be funny if he stuffed me in the toy. We had a toy bin, and he put me in the toy bin, and then he sat on top of the toy bin. And at the time, he didn't realize that oxygen was needed in order to live. And so when my mom found out she was doing that, she freaked out. Was it like one of those situations, or was there?
No. So his dad. Well, let me just tell you. So his last name is pronounced Anakane. John Minko, who is worked for 30 plus years at the Fan in New York, is the voice of St. John's. And so him and I were sitting watching Omaha practice yesterday. And Minko, by the way, is telling stories of Don Imus and Mike Francesa because he was the original with Mike and the Mad Dog. And it was pretty awesome. I like, as a radio junkie, I'm eating this stuff up. Sure. And then we start going through pronunciations. And I said, John, I go, how do you think you pronounce number 24? And so he turned to the page that has the pronunciation guide in it. And he's like, Anna. And I'm like, kind of. I go, the pronunciation guide is wrong because I went to Isaac before the year began. I said, slowly pronounce your name. And Isaac is from Congo. He speaks 6 different languages. He has a very deep French accent. He's a great story. It's been a great story of how he's, developed this year. But he said, Anakane. And I was like, what? And so it's Anakane. So it's Isaac Anakane is how you pronounce it. But no. So he casually dropped that, again, his dad is a general in the Congo, I guess you would call it the National Army. His two older brothers, who he doesn't speak to, tried to murder him. They stabbed him, and then they tried another thing to try and kill him.
Out of jealousy or out of like?
I'm not sure. I didn't know. I didn't really have a follow-up when somebody tells you that they don't talk to their two older brothers because they tried to murder you.
Sure, you don't go into a whole lot of detail. Yeah,
So it's actually a good story. I don't know if CBS. I don't know if Evan Washburn, who has an incredible coif of hair, is if he'll go into that. But yes. So Evan Washburn is here in Providence, and talked to him yesterday. We talked more about the NFL. The hair that you see on TV that never moves, regardless of temperature, whether he's in Miami or in Kansas City in the middle of January, it's real and it is spectacular. I mean, it is like a helmet of hair. For a guy that doesn't have hair or is losing it rapidly, congratulations.
And like, you got to respect it a little bit, though. Like the people who take pride in certain things, right? And for a guy like that to take pride in the hair and know that it kind of is his brand. I mean, he's got to do like a Vogue magazine, like what do I do in a day, and just give us the hair detail. Because you look at it on TV, you always get mesmerized by it, right? It's like, I feel like he's the type of dude, and I asked you this yesterday, like, did you find yourself looking at it when you were talking to him? Like if he was
a little bit, I would
find myself just kind of peering up, being like, "Oh my God, what I would do!" And it's a great color too. I mean, on TV, how is the color in person? It looks great on the.
Well, hey, I think we color it on game day.
Oh,
yeah, because it was not as bright as it normally is on TV.
Do those guys? Do they have like makeup people there who really do them up?
Yeah.
Is there a whole okay? Because I don't know. Because sometimes, like, I don't. I've been around those big broadcasts before. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. I don't know if they bring out. I mean, if this was a big guns type day for Washburn and the team, with what they have to announce. But hey, he'll have a good call. He's a pretty good announcer. I've always enjoyed him. Hey, that's your team. He'll be announcing that game tonight, as I assume, because he's there. He'll also be announcing a game of a former Greg McDermott assistant coach, Alan Huss and High Point, as they take on Purdue at 11:40. Creighton takes on Louisville, first game of the day before High Point takes on Purdue, where you can listen to Evan Washburn and look at his absolutely incredible hair. So when Louisville first got announced for Creighton, you and I definitely did have similar reactions. We were like, damn, not a good matchup for the Blue Jays. And especially in the fact that Stephen Ashworth has played so much basketball, and not only has he just played so much basketball and looked a little bit worn out at the end of the Big East tournament, but he's just played so much basketball with the ball in his hands, and so much has been relied upon him, especially since the Pop Isaac injury occurred. And I think the initial reaction was, man, that's going to be a tough matchup with Chucky guarding him, and Chucky is going to hit him hard and be physical with him and try and force turnovers. And we talked to a Louisville writer yesterday, Mark Rutherford of the Card Chronicle, and he kind of broke it down like this is probably a game of turnovers, right? Like if Creighton gets sloppy with the ball, Louisville's going to be able to take over, and it'll be a long day for the Blue Jays. But I don't know if you caught the interview, Gary. We brought up Kalkbrenner, and he talked about Kalkbrenner, and when he talked about it, you could hear like the fear in his voice. Like you could hear that, like, yeah, Louisville's got a lot of advantages, like up and down the board, but that Kalkbrenner guy's a little bit different. Like it's not a good matchup for Louisville. So I did a little bit more digging. Louisville is one of the better 3-point shooting teams in the country in terms of volume, and they score 31 points off of threes per game. It's top 15 in the country. But if you look at their shot chart, they are red hot from the paint. This Pat Kelsey offense is made to pull guys out in order to get some more efficient buckets inside, right? They're 57% on a 2-point field goal percentage, right? So when they get to the hoop, it's an efficient thing. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner might be Louisville kryptonite today. I just think he's the type of player with such an impact within the paint, especially considering Louisville's main 3-point shooter, 38% from the 3-point land, Rain Smith, hasn't played in 3 weeks because he's nursing a high ankle sprain. He'll play today, but there's no guarantee that he'll be 100%. I know we look at all of the defensive matchups that Louisville might have the advantage on, especially on the outside for Creighton. I think Ryan Kalkbrenner is going to be such a big difference today. He's going to push the Blue Jays over the finish line against the Cardinals.
I like where you're going here. So there's another part that I think there's going to be moments in the game today, but the biggest moments is when James Scott isn't on the floor for Louisville. Like if he gets into foul trouble or he's not out there, because they don't have a lot of interior defense.
They don't.
Now that Edwards and Hepburn, when they get rolling, they're scary because they can put up points in bunches. But back to your point about Kalkbrenner that I agree with you on is the drop coverage that Creighton uses. So that's going to force you into some uncomfortable shots. Louisville, you just recited the number on 2-point field goals, but a lot of those are at the rim. So now you're against a rim protector. But what that drop coverage does, it forces a lot of teams that are not comfortable shooting a mid-range jump shot.
Exactly.
Chucky Hepburn, for his entire college career, hasn't been comfortable shooting a mid-range jump shot when he has to shoot it a lot. And so it's not necessarily going to be him all the time, but they're going to have to shoot. And Louisville as a team is about 38%, I think, on mid-range jump shots. So they don't want to take those shots. They just don't. They'll try and find some other way. But in the drop coverage that Creighton runs, you've got to beat Creighton. You've got to hit those mid-range jump shots, or you have something else that is far superior to Creighton that you can utilize, i.e. St. John's and their defense. So I think that's a key point of the impact of Kalkbrenner on both ends of the floor. I mean, look, he's getting towards the end of his career. You know that he's not going to go out with a whimper. How many other guys can he carry with him? What are their legs like? How is Fedor's foot? And what are the minutes like when Scott is not in the game for Louisville? Can Creighton win those minutes? And if they do, I actually like Creighton today because I think there's a part of this max experience in the NCAA tournament. And while Louisville has been talking about, hey, we should have been a 5 or 6, and everything says they should have. I mean, they got screwed because the ACC is bad.
Yeah.
I mean, you don't have the year that they've had, get to the championship game and get an 8 seed. But I think also Creighton feels like they should be a 7. Hey, look, we lost Pop Isaacs. Remember, that was a long time ago. At the time he left, he only played 8 games. He was averaging 16 points a game. And we still have a top 50 offense and defense without him. Why aren't we being talked about as a 7 seed? Or why did we get sent to Lexington? We should be in Wichita. So now you're
it's
playing
almost
the road
as if
game again.
Yeah.
And I think you gotta look at that as some motivation on Creighton's side as well.
It's almost as if everybody else's wins against top teams really, really mattered and played a massive, movement toward them getting top seeds. But Creighton's win over Kansas, for whatever reason, I mean, Kansas has fallen off, but it's like you almost feel like North Carolina's win over UCLA in December meant more than Kansas. The Creighton's win over Kansas early in the year. Now they did struggle in the non-con. They were 7-5 at one point, so that definitely does have.
Well, they were 7-5 off a loss to Georgetown. Which that didn't age very well at all. Yeah, I think the year of the committee, when you step back and you look at where people ended up as a seed, and the whole season matters. I think some teams got the benefit of they got hot in January, February, and they used that to seed them, while other teams got penalized for a bad loss in November or early December. It was kind of all over the place, and I think that's Creighton's trip out to Vegas really hurt them. Losing to Nebraska hurt them. Losing to Georgetown hurt them. Yeah. But also, I mean, there's the give and take of this. Creighton hasn't been great at the end of the year. They've kind of been 500. They haven't been what we expect Creighton to be. They haven't blown people out. They haven't stepped on people's throats. They had to go to double overtime against DePaul. Yes, they won a Rock'em Sock'em game against UConn, but they got beat by 16 by St. John's. So I don't know. It's what team will show up today, but I know 11 will show up. He ain't going out this way.
It's funny. I thought at the end of the year when they had that 5-game stretch against the bottom part of the Big East that they were going to be able to take that stretch and parlay it into a ton of momentum. And I feel like even though they won 4 of those games, it kind of did the opposite because they didn't really look good. They were down against Georgetown early in that home game. They didn't play their best game against Seton Hall. Butler was Butler was probably their better game. I think there was the DePaul game before that. They didn't look great as well. And then they almost lost to DePaul in double overtime if it weren't for a, damn miracle. But it'll be a really interesting game. Back to your point on the mid-range shots from Louisville. I couldn't find their exact percentage. They just don't take them. They just don't take them. Like, it's not a shot that they take. So they're going to have to take shots that they're not used to taking because Ryan Kalkbrenner is in the middle. And frankly, that has been the tune for his entire career. Yet the guy is third in Big East voting when it comes to All-American selections. And he's not the Big East player of the year, even though he's a better offensive player than RJ Lewis and a better defensive player. That's neither here nor there. And I'm definitely not.
So let me, I know that was a discussion point last week. People I was talking to yesterday that, cover St. John's, so there's a little bias there. Yeah. They think a big reason was St. John's won the league by 3 games.
That's what it was.
If St. John's maybe wins it by 1 game, then RJ Lewis is probably not the player of the year, but they won it by 3 games.
It's one of those things where it's like you do have to reward the best player and the best team, especially when they went on the run they went on, regardless of it. I didn't like the All-American teams either. Hey, we had some shaking and moving in the coaching carousel yesterday. We'll talk about why that was really, really good for one conference. Also, should Indiana fans be happy that Darren DeVries is getting a lot of hate from West Virginia? It's something to talk about a little bit there on terms of fan reaction when a coach gets away. And then we'll also get into just kind of your tournament outlook before you get out of here, who your Final Fours are, upsets you like. We got a lot coming for you. College basketball is at its peak right now and tomorrow and Saturday and Sunday. No better weekend to just sit on your couch and be a potato. We'll talk to you coming up after this break.
From the Plum Ride Time Saving Traffic Center, heads up, there's an accident reported at 132nd at Maple Road. There's an accident on the left shoulder, ID eastbound at 96th Street, and there's an accident causing the left lane to be blocked.
Some would say that the stars are out for St. John's at Madison Square Garden after what you saw in the Big East championship game with Spike Lee and every somewhat famous St. John's alumni out there. But the stars are out for, oh, look at that. That's a beautiful program you got there. Look at that. That's a media guide if I've ever seen one. That's impressively made. But, hey, the stars are out for the Omaha Mavericks as well. Truth Magnum, Turbo Floyd. I mean, some people call them underdogs. You can't, you don't have enough fingers and toes to count the reasons why the Omaha Mavericks can win today. And hey, if you can't lose if you win, right? I mean, that's exactly that. And on top of that,
how it works.
Top of that, Peyton Manning made a little bit of a Twitter appearance with the Omaha Mavericks. Now, I want to say this right now, and I don't mean to get on you, but so the bit with Peyton Manning, if you haven't seen it on Twitter, he's sitting there, he's on his table, and he's filling out the NCAA bracket, and he's got Omaha, the very famous word that he always said before he snapped the ball during his Hall of Fame career, and he's got Tennessee in his national championship game, and he cannot decide whether or not if he's going to pick Omaha to win the national championship or Tennessee to win the national championship. If I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm a little offended by that. I'm like, are you kidding me? You went here. You played quarterback for us. You're an alumni. Omaha is just a word that you said. Like, what? I mean, what are you talking about? Like, you're one of us. You didn't go to Omaha. It's like if if like Cockles University and like Nebraska were both in the NCAA tournament and you had to pick between your favorite word and the place you went to for 4 years and became a legend at. Like if I'm a Tennessee fan, I'm like, what is going on here? This is a weird bit.
It was a funny bit. Hey, what is his company named after?
Omaha Productions.
Yes.
I know.
And what is that O on the logo?
I just find it funny. I just find it funny when people just take a word that anybody can take and they've just absolutely made it theirs. And then now he relates it to the city and to the team, which, by the way, shout out the Mavs, more publicity, baby. This is what March brings. This is exactly.
So that was a behind the scenes thing that had been brewing for a couple of weeks to try and get him to do something like that. And so he agreed to it. And then they put it out yesterday. So last night, Truth Magnum and Turbo Floyd, the Outrunners from AEW, were over at Ralston Arena. Durango was with them.
Yeah, I saw that.
I know.
He looked good. He looked like a guy. Durango looked like a guy that AEW would hire, right? He's not too tall, but he's definitely pretty ripped. Like he's got that Vince look that they're trying to go to nowadays.
It was the kid that does Durango. He's flying out here to Providence today.
Oh, good for him. What a memory with the Outrunners. Did you see what? AEW was in town yesterday. Unfortunately, because of the weather, I did not go, and I just decided to stay in and get ready for today's show.
Peter
at
was
the
there.
same time though. Did he? A man literally had spikes in his back.
I saw that
at Ralston Arena, and they literally could not remove them from his back. John Moxley, also known as Dean Ambrose, what a psycho! It actually was a pretty good match. And then my favorite tag team of all time, FTR, with Dax Hardwood and Cash Wheeler, turned their back on Edge. Oh my God, what is AEW going to do? Find out, and whatever. Next Wednesdays or Saturdays, whenever the hell that indie program is running their stuff. And, other than the Outrunners, because the Outrunners are absolutely awesome. They're incredible. Hey, this time of year brings a lot of chaos and celebrities, and it also brings fans talking about their favorite teams. We're now going to bring in our favorite caller, Mr. Doug, to talk about the Creighton Blue Jays. Dougie? How are you?
You made my morning.
I made your morning?
Yeah, when you, I was thinking pretty negatively, and then when you pointed out that a lot of their points come in the paint, Creighton's, you turned my whole perspective around.
This is what I'm supposed to do, Doug. I'm supposed to give you a little bit of hope. That's why I was hired. They hired me because they're like, we got this guy named Doug, and we need you to give him hope. And that's all I do for you.
Well, I'm so glad that coaching carousel turned in Creighton's favor, and personally my favor, because I knew D-Rock pretty well when he was here, coach under Altman, and when he and Fish were assistants, and actually had the team over for dinner a couple of times back when they wouldn't come during Great. Just dinner. But I'm so glad he didn't go to Iowa for so many reasons, because their message boards were acting like, oh, he's their native son, blah, blah, blah. He played at Northern Iowa. He wanted to go there, but they didn't offer him, I think. I didn't really ever ask him that question. But his brother did play football there, but they acted like he was,
Yeah, promised. He was the prodigal son. He was the prince who needed to become the king. I get what you're saying.
And I think it's hilarious because I root against Iowa 99% of the time, maybe 99.98% of the time. And I really like D-Rock. And, wow, what a hell of a job for him. And now, it's like I couldn't really root that hard against D-Rock personally. So I'm just glad he went to Indiana, because I'm okay with him being in Indiana. And I think it's hilarious that Iowa is just getting this black eye, which they kind of deserve. They got to get into the 21st century. They're in their way they pay and do things. It's, and God bless Tom Osborne, but, you got to pay people now. And just the way it is. And I don't know. They're probably going to get McCollum from Drake. But then everybody's like, oh, they're in discussions and whatever. And I'm like, and everybody's this Iowa burner account, which just pisses me off, because I hate burner accounts.
And don't read them. You don't have to read them, Doug, if you don't
Well,
like
they come up on my feed. You know how many I block? All these, and then you look at them and they got like 3 followers or something, and and all these bots that keep liking my posts.
Jesus, Doug.
And there's some chick.
Oh my God.
Doug, we got to keep it PG, Doug. We got to keep it PG.
Doug, does your timeline look like Nebraska Ball Mike's?
Yeah, I know.
Yes, exactly. Well, I don't refollow them.
Well, that's good.
But, I'm glad you don't keep giving them attention.
Now I'm feeling better about Creighton, and I so hope UNO to beat St. John's. And one last comment: I was watching the Xavier Texas game last night.
Mm-hmm.
The game has gotten too rough. I mean, honestly, it's the pushing and the shoving and the moving screens, and I get it. But because they haven't been. It's hard to call it now, because you'd be calling a foul in every possession. But they've kind of let the game, in my opinion, get away, and it's kind of become, wrestling and bully ball out there versus basketball with skill and 3-pointers, and that certainly doesn't favor Creighton for the most part.
There it is.
So that's all I got.
Yeah, you're all good, Doug. Yeah, I think Doug might be the first person ever to complain about the fact that basketball isn't soft enough. I mean, I thought yesterday's game between Xavier and Texas was actually very well refereed, and for a good, especially down the stretch, until it needed to be called, because Texas did absolutely everything wrong down the stretch in terms of turning the ball over and having bad fouls and not being able to hit their free throws. But I actually thought it was a pretty well ref game. I don't need this Big Ten whistle to whistle stuff because the game is too rough. I don't know about you, but that's just I'd rather the guys be hitting and scratching each other than anything else. But hey, a little fun fact here: in the last 12 tournaments, a playing team has won in round 1. Okay, or 12, and it has advanced to the second round in 12 of the last 13 tournaments. Here's another one for you though, not counting the COVID bubble, which is the 2021 tournament. 10 of the 12 teams to win their next game played on the Wednesday of the first 4 in, which would be Xavier, which was yesterday, and they end up playing Illinois in round 1 tomorrow. So a little fun fact for you if you need some last-minute bracket adjustments, because it's all about the bracket.
Well, something to also keep in mind if you're looking at North Carolina. So North Carolina got a huge bonus, because usually when you play in the play-in game, you play 2 days later. They're not playing until tomorrow. And they play Tuesday night.
Yeah.
Because usually the Tuesday teams play on Thursday. I mean, look at Alabama State. Yeah. They're playing early against Auburn today, right after Louisville and Creighton. And then, North Carolina is not playing until Friday in Milwaukee.
Yeah, the ball just keeps bouncing North Carolina's way, even though I find it so funny that San Diego State game wasn't a quad 1 win. Like, that was, chef's kiss.
San Diego State got in due to reputation of what they've done in past tournaments. They had a rough year. They did not have a typical Brian Dutcher year. They got in on, they were beat up at the end of the year. They got in on reputation, and the Mountain West got exposed. The Mountain West hasn't had a good run in the NCAA tournament.
And they're going to need it. And they got a couple teams in the tourney, Utah State. Colorado State is kind of everybody's darling. And Colorado State will play tomorrow, and they will be, funny enough, they will be the first team since Middle Tennessee back in 2017 that will be a 12-seed favor in a 12-5 game. Okay, So just something to throw out there. Let's talk about coaches yesterday, because the coaching carousel was affected in yesterday's performance. It was Jeff Goodman tweeted out today that it's looking like Texas will be moving on from Coach Rodney Terry. Rodney Terry was basically the interim after Chris Beard was fired, and then they made the NCAA tournament in the year that he was the interim. And then Texas has made the tournament in the last 2 seasons, albeit barely getting in and not having deep runs. So Texas is more than likely going to move on from their head coach. It's a really interesting development, because Will Wade yesterday, it was announced that when McNeese is done, he will end up being the next head coach of NC State. I wonder, I don't know I don't know if he signed the contract yet, if it's like officially official or anything, if that is a done deal. But I wouldn't be surprised if Texas, if the deal isn't done with Will Wade going to NC State, if Texas could try and maybe swoop away Will Wade from NC State, considering the fact that I think Will Wade, like he did at LSU, has had a ton of success in the SEC, and Will Wade just in general is a really, really good coach, just in terms of on the floor, off the floor stuff. Definitely, talking about a guy who's had 5 NCAA tournament appearances, but wasn't allowed to coach in 2 of them because he was punished by his athletic department. So it's an interesting hire from NC State. It's a guy who's won at both the SEC level and then went down to McNeese and dominated at that level. And now, we talk about the importance of coaches as in conference. Will Wade's a good coach going to a conference who needs more good coaches.
Yes, and he's coaching against a team from that conference today here in Providence.
Yes, good point.
And I would imagine that the North Carolina State thing is done, because he openly talked about it yesterday when they had press conferences, and that is very, very rare. I would love to see moving forward. And the thing with Rodney Terry, he did go to the NCAA tournament a couple of times, but he's also one of those coaches that had a run after he had to take over for Chris Beard in the middle of the year. Yeah. And they hired him at Texas, where you can go out and get somebody. Just like what happened in Iowa, it happened at Texas. Is women's basketball has become bigger than men's basketball, and there are not butts in the seats. They got a brand new arena in Austin. They had a collapse down the stretch in the SEC. People aren't going to men's basketball games. They're going to support the women's basketball team. They're not going to men's basketball teams. So that also factors in. Sure. And it'll be curious to see where Texas goes, because that is a really, really good job at a football school, but they need somebody to ignite the fan base, and they also need somebody for McConaughey to sign off on. But back to Will Wade. I would love to see this in college athletics. I know you will never see this, but this would be my pipe dream. In the NFL, where they are required to tell you who they interview for their head coaching job, wouldn't that be something in college athletics if you were required to let everybody know, hey, we've interviewed Matt Rule, we've interviewed Lance Leipold. Hey, just like you see in the NFL, where, your team went through 500 guys that they interviewed, but you have to announce it every time after you interview somebody for your head coaching job. And I know there's the Rooney Rule that's in place in the NFL, but what if we had that in college? Wouldn't that be fascinating?
We have all this hoopla, Gary, about tampering, and we have all this, we literally have athletic departments changing how we've done tradition in college sports in general, because we're so afraid that other teams are going to call our players. Yet it's free game in coaching searches. It does not matter. And it's not malpractice at all. Heck, Darren DeVries is getting drugged through the mud in Morgantown, West Virginia, because yesterday at his presser, he talked about how Indiana had reached out to him during the middle of the year, and they were very respectful of what they were doing at WVU. But I think it would be incredibly interesting, but I also think it would just be, at this point, right to do it, because we freak out and argue and talk about, oh my God, this team is calling my players while he's still playing, and this team is they're getting into the transfer window before it opens. Where in coaching, where you can even argue it's way more, it's more important in the macro level than it is just one specific player. Like, it's free game. We're just allowed to call whoever we want and talk to whoever we want whenever we want.
I mean, I don't, if you're an athletic director and you're going to move on from your head coach, you got to start that process early.
Exactly.
So like Bill Moose, by the way, Bill Moose had made contact with a couple of people, and there was still a month left in Miles' last season. So Indiana contacting Darren DeVries representatives is not surprising at all.
No, not at all.
The wheels are always moving behind the scenes. I mean, look at Ben McCollum is probably next in line. And I don't know why people aren't saying Ben McCollum's dream job is Iowa. The guy is from Iowa City. Okay, so he's an Iowa native. You got to imagine that even Ben McCollum's representatives were contacted, a month ago to, gauge some interest and to see where it goes, because the calendar in college athletics, when it comes to coaching and building a roster and getting rid of guys on your roster, is so sped up that if you're an athletic director and you wait until the last moment to contact the person that you want, you're going to miss out on them. But you need to be ready to, if you're going to pull the trigger on somebody and make that decision, you got to do it. You can't hesitate, but then you got to have your guy in line. So I don't have a problem with Indiana reaching out to West Virginia or reaching out to DeVries representatives. I don't think they stopped by a West Virginia game and the AD from Indiana was sitting behind the bench and he goes, "Hey, coach, can I talk to you after the game?" Sure. I mean, I know how this works. It's all behind the scenes, but good athletic directors are always one step ahead.
Well, that's why they do it in the NFL, right? I mean, that's why during the playoffs, why you have all these offensive coordinators and defensive coordinators interviewing like during the process, because you need to get the ground running, right? As soon as you come into a head coach, you got to pick your players. You got to start building your roster. You got to start looking at that stuff. Nowadays in college basketball, it's no different. And hell, one guy you didn't mention, Nico Medved, has basically, he basically is the head coach of Minnesota right now. It's just you're waiting for Colorado State to, be eliminated or, wait.
I don't know, the Colorado State AD though. Good on him. He said that he'll fight for him.
Sure.
I don't know if he has the same kind of artillery that Minnesota has, but good for the athletic director at Colorado State who kind of went out in the open and said, no, they haven't contacted him yet. And we don't expect to lose him.
My big thing though is that there definitely is a double standard in a way, and I know you're right in the regard. You have to do it if you're an athletic director, and you have to do it if you're an athletic department, and reach out to a coach beforehand. But when we make all this hoopla and all the headlines a lot, especially during this time of year when college football isn't being played, is about tampering this and tampering that and tampering this and tampering that, and yet will allow the athletic department, specifically the athletic directors, tamper with other teams and coaches. I do think it would just be good for the game in general if we just were a little bit more transparent of who's talking to who and what's going on, because you're transparent to the players as well, because, the athletic department gets to plan out what coach is going to come in at what time. And, the coach gets a heads up. But I think the players deserve a heads up too, which is what Will Wade talked about during his press conference where he was transparent with his players. I think the players deserve a little bit of transparency that, hey, their head coach is going to be leaving. A new guy is going to be coming in, which means that you should start getting your eyes on the portal to put yourself in the best position possible. I just think with all these things that are now moving and all the cogs in the machine that is college sports, we just can't operate with as much secrecy as we
never really have. We've had secrecy for a long time. I mean,
and it'll never go away.
No,
it'll never. Yeah,
I'm wondering if we'd ever get to a point where athletic departments have to announce, and I know they won't because they would freak out.
Yeah,
hey, we have, because every time after a guy in the NFL interviews, there is a release from the team, like a graphic on their social media. We've interviewed Ben Johnson for our head coaching job. We've interviewed Brian Flores for our head coaching job. That's all it is. And that's an NFL thing with the Rooney Rule. But just think about the possibility if that was true in college athletics, what that would do to the message boards, what that would do to sports talk radio in college places.
It would be great for media. Holy crap. That would be awesome.
And then we would need a flight tracker.
Yeah. Well, that and we wouldn't have, what it would take away is the secret stories people would tell, like people get on the on the media sometimes. They're like, well, back during this head coaching search, they flew in this guy. This guy could have been the head coach, and he ended up going here and being great. Imagine if they were able to get him. Screw that. We no longer, we don't even have to do that anymore in the NFL because we know who's where at what point. Hey, we have a guy who definitely is going to be sitting down watching a lot of basketball today. Nate from Ohio is calling in. Hey, Nate, how you doing? Nathan?
I'm doing great.
Great to hear from you. How are you?
I just wanted to take a moment and defend you.
Oh, yes.
From all the haters.
Well, in what regard?
Sandwiches are in the higher echelon of foodum.
Thank you. Are you eating sandwiches today while watching the NCAA tournament with me?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Who doesn't want to eat a sandwich? Sandwiches are the best. They are the best thing. You know what? We do not say, hey, it's the greatest thing since fried grease. No, we say it's the greatest thing since sliced bread.
Damn right.
Because we all know that sandwiches are the best.
And there's
you know what makes wings better? What makes wings better is you take them off the actual bone and you put them between two slices of bread.
Yes. Oh
and
my
make
God.
it a sandwich.
Oh my God. Nathan, you are the greatest.
Sandwiches are the best.
You are the greatest.
Pizza, just an open-faced sandwich. Tacos, just Mexican sandwiches. I'm telling you, sandwiches are the greatest thing. If you said all you can eat for the rest of your life sandwiches, not a problem. You know what? You get a nice steak on the grill. You know what you can do with that?
Make a sandwich.
You can make steak sandwiches.
Nathan, you have earned yourself a number
turkey
one
at
seat.
Thanksgiving?
Yeah.
Turkey at Thanksgiving, bland as all get out. One of the worst things we ever do as a society. But you know what's not the worst? The day after Thanksgiving, taking that cold turkey and making it into a sandwich.
Amen to you, brother. Amen. Amen. I say to you, hey, everybody loves the Ross Geller Friends sandwich, It's the mayo, the stuffing, the cranberry sauce with a little bit of turkey. I don't know. You weren't here. I got a lot of flack because I said that wings and beers and pizza are made for football, but turkey sandwiches are made for watching the NCAA tournament. Probably one of my hotter takes that a lot of people did not enjoy. But hey, I'm going right to Jersey Mike's after the show, and I'm picking up my nice big catering turkey sandwiches because that's what we'll be feasting on during what is the greatest day in sports.
I like a turkey sandwich. I don't know that's my go-to during the NCAA men's basketball tournament.
It's absolutely my go-to. I mean, it's turkey sandwiches.
Nothing in March says, hey, let's get a turkey sandwich to enjoy some basketball.
See, that's exactly what I said.
You know what? That turkey sandwich during basketball season sounds good on a Monday when you've watched 4 days of hoops. After you've consumed lots of beer and wings and pizza and chips and guac.
Turkey sandwich. It's a marathon, Sharp. We're going from 11 a.m. to god dang 11 p.m. All right. You can't be
stuck. How many turkey sandwiches are you eating?
Probably 3. Like 3, a full, I would say I'm probably going to have a full 18-inch hoagie by the end of the day. So that's basically 4 different smaller sandwiches. But a full 18 inches, both today and tomorrow. Hey, it's a marathon, not a sprint. Don't put the grease in your stomach. Put some nice meat, bread, a little bit of mayo, tomato, and olive oil and vinegar. Hey, I got to get you for one more segment. Can I get you for one more segment before you pop out of here? Okay. We're going to be talking big picture stuff. Who you like, who you don't like. It's the NCAA tournament. You got to get your brackets in. You got to win your pools, who the Final Fours are going to be. And I'll tell you something right now. I think a lot of people looked at the bracket and they're like, meh. I think a lot of people are looking at what the analysts are saying and saying, oh my God, everybody's got 4 number 1 seeds in, or 3 1s and 1 2. I'll tell you exactly why. I think this has the potential to be one of the greatest NCAA tournaments. Okay. I really do think that this has the potential to go down as one of the all-timers. I'll tell you, coming up next year on Gary and Matt.
All right, we just went through the snowstorm, and your roof might be in a little bit of trouble. And if it is in trouble, there is only one company to call to come out and assess your roof and take care of it, or make sure you're ready for the next storm, and that is my good friends at Moose Roofing. They are the MVPs in Omaha. They are Omaha. They've been here since 1996. They are live. They are local. They're not going anywhere, because when you have to replace your roof, you want to entrust it to people that are going to take care of the most important asset in your home, and that is your roof. Over 15,000 homes in the Omaha metro area have been taken care of by Moose Roofing. Highly durable, lifetime roofing solutions. They've got ventilation expertise that nobody else has. Plus, they've got top-notch customer service. They're going to sit down and work with you. They're going to get to know you first, and then they're going to get to know your roof and your needs, and then they're going to go to work for you. And then one thing that is guaranteed with Moose Roofing that I really appreciate from Pat and his entire crew is they don't leave your place a mess. Okay, when they're fixing your roof, they don't have crap everywhere all over the yard. They're not that kind of company. They're a company that wants you as a customer and wants to keep you for life. Plus, when you get through the whole process and then you got to deal with insurance, you're like, oh, geez, this is going to be a pain. You know what they do at Moose Roofing? They, with their service team, they're going to help you navigate the ever increasingly difficult insurance process. They take care of everything from top to bottom. Most importantly, your roof, but they make it worthwhile. They're locally owned, top-notch reputation. Again, they've been here in Omaha since 1996. They're here before the storm, during the storm, after the storm. If this recent storm has caused problems with your roof or you want to make sure that you're ready for spring, contact Moose Roofing today. Easy to get a hold of them. Go to the website. Lots more information there at mooseroofing.com. That's Moose Roofing, online at mooseroofing.com.
a great song. Money, money. I know that's not how the song is necessarily pronounced, but a lot of money to be made today. A lot of games to be played. A lot of upsets to be had.
Bring up your big board there. Let me look at your big board.
Sorry, I have to go away from the mic and grab it.
Matt has created a big board of picks today.
All right, here it is. I got it. See, is there a way to like flip the camera, Jimmy, so it can look like, because you can't really read it all that well.
Careful, you might break it.
Okay, so lift it up. So you got Drake plus 6.
Yes, so I do have to slightly adjust the lines, but yeah, so Drake plus 6.
Okay.
I have BYU minus 2.
BYU is getting a lot of run. There's a lot of people that are excited about BYU. By the way, BYU could be very scary moving forward.
Oh, with the war chest and NIL that they have.
And they've got the number 1 player in the country coming.
Yeah. They're going to be very scary. Yale plus 7 against Texas A&M. This is a popular one. I'm going to be honest with you. I think I would take one off the back here and replace it with Yale, because Yale is like one of those where like a lot of people want it. Like I got to these 3 on my own. Yale was kind of like a lot of like the money, like the field is on it, so I'll kind of ride with it. But I saw them play against Cornell. They're a pretty damn good basketball team. And Texas A&M, they're way too inconsistent.
Well,
and
I like this pick because the thing about Yale is they do shoot the daylights out of the 3, and Texas A&M shoots like there's no daylight. And then Yale rebounds well enough that they can hang in that aspect.
They are a grown men basketball team. Like they have big guys, they have size. Like that's one of those things when you have these mid-major versus Power 5 matchups, you know this, it's all about the physicality, the size, the athleticism. Like Yale can match some Power 5 teams in that regard, which is why, they went 20-7 and did really well.
That line in a 4-13 game is small for a reason.
So small. And then this is my favorite pick, the one at the bottom. Do you see it? Can you read the terrible
UC San Diego?
UC San Diego. Okay. I'm going to tell you something right now. I don't think there could be a worse matchup for Michigan. This is like an absolute nightmare for them. They have 14 turnovers a game. It's 340th in the country. UC San Diego steals the ball 9.1 times per game. They're also too, like, everyone's worried about Michigan's size. We're like, oh my God, they have like the 2 7-footers. Like, what are they going to do? Like, they're not going to be able to get to the paint. UC San Diego is a 3-point shooting team. They score 31 points per game from 3. It's one of the top marks in the country. Like, they are going to be like, they don't really attack the basket all that much. They hit stuff from outside. And so I feel like, a size advantage is never really negated. But like in this point with how UC San Diego plays, like it actually kind of goes in their favor that Michigan is so big in the paint. And they also have Aniwa Tate Jones, who's a 6'6", 20-point per game scorer, who's an absolute stud from New Zealand. So this is the big board. Drake plus 6, BYU minus 2. BYU, by the way, in my final 4. Yale.
Whoa.
Yeah, I'm dude. Richie Saunders, get on the train right now while you can. Yale plus 7, UC San Diego plus 2.5. Those are my 4 that I'm going to bat for.
Yeah, the Michigan being gigantic in the front court, though. Remember, they do play a little offense.
They do.
That's going to be a problem for UC San Diego.
UC San Diego also does play with a lot of great pace. So that's another thing to.
And that's one of those games that I think that's a line they just want you to.
You think it's fool's gold? Are you calling a game on the board fool's gold?
Because UC San Diego became a darling, and I know it's a 5-12 with a short line, but Michigan's a really good basketball team, and that front court is going to dominate that game.
Been 4 years. All right, we'll agree to disagree, Sharp. We'll agree to disagree because the Big Ten tournament champion has not gotten out of the round of 42 or round of 32 in 4 years, and they played 3 really physical games back.
So they could lose. They could lose on Saturday. That's fine. They're just winning today.
Okay, so here's the back of the board, right? And there's 2 games that I really want to point out here for you. The first is Omaha plus 18.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm not picking Omaha to win outright. Okay, but I just think the number is too high. And like I've said before, like you guys do, like the Mavs do match up. I mean, no one really matches up well against St. John's, but like it's not a terrible matchup in the regard that there is physicality, there is size, there is shooting. You just got to hope and pray St. John's doesn't force the ball out of your hands 20 times this game, because that's the only way that this game gets over 18 in terms of margin of victory. And also, too, Omaha is a live money line dog. I'm just not willing to put my money on the money line there. And then here's a weird one. So I wrote High Point +7 here. Okay. I did this at like 2:00 yesterday.
Okay.
I'm reversing this. I'm actually reversing it. I like Purdue today. I'm going to go against what the board says. I like Purdue -7. And the reason why is that, so Purdue this year on the defensive end has had like a lot of issues in the paint, like ever since Edey like has gone away, and Creighton is going to go through the same problem with Kalkbrenner is gone. Like they just have not been able to guard the paint nearly at the same level they have to in the past. But like this High Point team, they're a 3-point shooting team. So I don't think they're going to be able to expose that really at all. And so I think the fact that like Purdue having such a high powered offense, it's like going to be an offense versus offense type game. And just Purdue just straight up has the better offense with Braden Smith and Trey Kaufman-Renn. And then like on top of that, like you got this guy who's a 7-footer on High Point, but he doesn't play more than 25 minutes a game. And everyone is kind of like saying, hey, like that's going to be like a X factor for them. I just don't think when you have a guy in the non-power 5 who doesn't play that often, just because he's a tall dude doesn't mean that he's going to impact the game in this massive way. So I think we're just playing an offense versus offense game here. I like Purdue -7.
All right.
So
no, I am with your Purdue assessment, because I think Kaufman-Renn and Smith will be a problem.
I think that this High Point team a little bit, and I know the one that you're going to relate to here, but like everybody was all over McNeese last season or last tournament season. Like they're going to be the 13 or they're going to be the 12 to make the run, and they got absolutely stomped. I love Allen Huss. Don't get me wrong. Like I think High Point has had an incredible year. I just kind of like, I like Purdue. I just think too many people have like PTSD over FDU and St. Peter's, where it's just like, no, I think this team is actually good, and High Point can't take advantage of the weaknesses that they have. Also, too, same thing with like UC San Diego. The weaknesses they have on their shot chart like match up perfectly with what Michigan doesn't do. So like it's another thing too. You got to look at the charts. I mean, you got to look at the shot charts.
I don't know. I like to watch basketball.
I do too. I watch basketball as well. But there's
you youngins are so analytical.
You got to implement.
Some of us just like to watch ball.
Do you know why analytics became a thing? Because we became right. Because we became right. Because the stuff we started looking at actually came to fruition. I test ball watch knower. Hey, you make your bets, I'll make my bets. I'm the one with the big board, okay? I'm the one with the big board. By the way, you like my signature right here?
Sure.
For kids in the future who are watching on the YouTube stream, if you ever want an autograph from Matt McMaster, this is what you're getting. The 2 M's and then a little cursive swiggle here. Hey, so my final 4, let me look at it here. I have to enter. I haven't like paid anybody for all these tournament pools that I'm in. I have to do that when I get off the air. Auburn, Florida, Tennessee, BYU is my final 4. I think Florida's going to win. That's my national champion. I do think Tennessee at the end of the day is just going to get the benefit of kind of having an easier road, because I have Gonzaga upsetting Houston in the round of 32. So there you go. Do you have a final?
Florida, I agree with you. I think Florida winning the national championship. They have every tool. I don't need to look at no analytic chart. I just need to watch SEC basketball. They have guard play. They have experience. They have versatility. They have NBA talent. They have physicality. They have 3-point shooting. They grab offensive rebounds like none other. They can beat anyone. I think Florida wins the national championship, but I have them beating Houston in the final because guards win in March, and Houston's stable of guards might be the most talented that Kelvin Sampson has had.
Absolutely. And Kelvin Sampson is one hell of a coach, and talk about a guy who's built that program from scratch. He didn't inherit a whole lot. I mean, he built that from the bottom up, and that's a coach where Kelvin Sampson is a guy you like to root for, and JT Toppin is absolutely one of the best players in the country, All-American and Big 12 Player of the Year for a reason. I just think that we're gonna have 1-8 over a 1, and it's gonna shock everybody. and I just kind of went with Gonzaga over Houston because my gut is like this is the one that is more likely to happen than any other. So that's kind of just what I went with. But I think Gonzaga, like they are the analytical darling, and they would be higher if they didn't lose to Oregon State and Santa Clara earlier in the year. I mean, it's a team that is definitely suffering from those bad losses, but at the same time, Ken Pom absolutely loves them. I said this in the tease, and I want to get to it. I think this is has the potential to be one of the best tournaments ever, period, because we are so obsessed with the whole this is so top heavy and 4 number 1 seeds. And oh my God, like see all these people are like, I don't see any of these top seeds getting beat. One of two things is going to happen. These top seeds are going to be beaten, and they're going to create incredible moments that people will not forget about, where it's like, where were you when this happened? And these massive upsets. Or you're going to end up with like the greatest Elite Eight ever. Like you are just going to end up with like ones and twos and ones and twos and ones and threes. And you're going to end up with a super competitive Final Four where it's like, all right, yeah, maybe we didn't get the magic of March, but when you look top to bottom, it's never been more competitive in terms of who's going to win this national championship.
And there's also the factor that the number 1 overall pick in the NBA draft is in the tournament on one of the best teams. That also happens. That's also very rare.
It also is. And also, too, he's got like 4 other potential draft picks on his teams as well, which people always fail. Or, I mean, at least enough people fail to mention it where it annoys me. But, hey, thank you for joining us, partner. I really, really appreciate it. I know it's a busy, busy, hectic day for you. It's a day that you should be proud of, a day that Omaha Athletics should be proud of. It's a monumentous occasion. The Mavericks in the championship. Have a great call. Thanks for coming on us.
Hey, thank you. We'll be back in studio on Monday to wrap up this weekend. What a great day for basketball in Omaha. Creighton is tipping off here. I got to do my math. Let's see. It's 8:44 here. It's 7:44 there. So pregame starts at 10.
It's 3 hours and 30-ish minutes.
So, and then Creighton starts the day. Omaha finishes the day. And wouldn't that be a hell of a day if both teams went 2-0?
We call it the great
playing on Saturday.
In the city of Omaha, like the entire encompassing city of Omaha, it is one of the greatest days of athletics. If they both end up winning, holy crap! Tune in tomorrow because we will be and you'll be on. Gary, I'm not counting you out. You guys can do it, and if you do it, we're not doing this whole. Oh, no, I'm tired. No, you're coming on for at least a half hour because we got to get your reaction. So hey, good luck tonight. Have a great call. I'll talk to you soon, partner.
Hey, appreciate it.
Of course. Hey, we still got a great show left for you here. Sarah Baker Hansen will be coming up at 8 o'clock. She's got Steak Town USA if you want to go and get a great bite to eat. Then we're going to have Stephen M. Sipple at 9:15 and Brian Edwards at 9:45. Me and Jimmy the rest of the show. Hang on for dear life. You're listening to 1620 The Zone.
Do you want to win up to 1,000 times your money? Well, that sounded kind of threatening. Well, it's not because you can with Underdog. You can play with as little as $1, and if you get everything right, you can win up to 1,000 times your money, so turn $1 to $1,000 just with your hoops knowledge, because there's lots of basketball. It's time. And this week on Underdog, this weekend, it's all college basketball all the time. I hope I don't end up broke at it. I probably won't, though, because we got some help last night from the Musketeers of Xavier, and we're going to have a great March the rest of the way, and you can too. Just download the Underdog app and sign up now using promo code ZONE to unlock a special offer of up to $1,000 in bonus cash when you make your first deposit. Join in on all the fun when you sign up with promo code ZONE, claim your special offer today, and get up to $1,000 in bonus cash instantly upon first deposit. Must be 19 plus in Nebraska and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Void in Colorado. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org.
Little update around sports in Nebraska here. Baseball able to Nebraska Cornhusker baseball able to get it going during the midweek.
You're burying the lead. What they did.
What do you mean?
They pulled off the hidden ball trick.
Oh, I saw that yesterday. Yes, it was quite incredible.
Good on Will.
There was
sometimes you need a spark.
You do, and it was well executed because they were screaming for the bench, and the guy on first was definitely confused about what was going on. And I think he might have been saying, "Oh, I need to take a signal or something."
Will's a fan of Little Big League. He knows what Billy Haywood did.
Well, I mean, Will Bolt is one of those coaches who's
if the
still
season turns around, that's where it happened.
Well.
You say sometimes the littlest things and then get a victory can turn it around.
Really,
I'm trying to be positive.
You're trying to put a little piss and vinegar into their veins, which hopefully the 11 runs they scored yesterday against Pepperdine and
I still have faith they're going to
9 runs they scored the day before. Hopefully, we'll do that for the team who is 1-5 of the Big Ten Conference and has a massive conference series coming up against USC. Creighton baseball picked up a win a couple days ago against South Dakota State 1-0. Our own Connor Happer was on the call. Hey, Blue Jays looking good, 11-5 overall. Haven't played any conference games just yet, but it's been a solid start to the season. Kind of a
go Ed.
Man, Coach Ed Service, I'll never forget him coming on and doing that interview, who was absolutely incredible. We were rooting for him in his final season. Hopefully he gets a beautiful season, a beautiful swan song. He is a really good guy. I don't know him too personally, but I know people who know him, and one of my very good friends who used to play for him says nothing but incredible things about him, and was very gracious with his time here on the station. So in his last season, hopefully the Blue Jays can keep up their great start. Staying on the Blue Jays, the women's basketball team will be in action this weekend as they take on the Illinois Illini in the NCAA tournament. Hopefully, Nebraska basketball, who's defeated the Illini a couple times this season, can give them a little bit of some tips there, if you will. But they play that game on Saturday, I believe. I think it's at 6:50. Jimmy, if I'm not mistaken.
Which one?
The Creighton women's basketball game.
Couldn't tell you.
Okay, fair enough. Well,
they'll play.
Nebraska plays Louisville. Nebraska women's basketball, 10 seed, plays 7 seed Louisville tomorrow at 5 o'clock. Men's basketball tournament in full swing today. Women's basketball tournament full swing. I think it starts tomorrow. It should be a great weekend of basketball, great weekend of sports. You can't ask for too many things better, man, than just sitting on your chair all day. If you've been able to take some days off and just chillax, rot a little bit, watch some good teams play some good basketball. And I think it's a weird bracket this year. I talked about it earlier, but it's very interesting in the regard that it's top heavy at the top. You have a lot of 1s and 2s, a lot of chalky. I mean, Ryan Hammer in the Trapezoid of Excellence, one of my favorite college basketball national analysts. He's got all 4 1 seeds. I'm pretty sure Jay Billis has all 4 1 seeds or like 3 1 seeds. No, I think he's got all 4 1 seeds. Like, it'll make for some really good moments, some really good upsets, but at the same time, the mid-majors are pretty stacked up too. I mean, the mid-majors have some really, really good teams. You go down the list of this bracket, and there are a lot of teams that, your Yales, your UC San Diegos, your McNeese States, your High Points, even Omaha and Bryant are 15 seeds who've had quite incredible seasons. You can't forget about VCU. I think they're 11-1 in their last 12. They're playing a damn good BYU team. That'll probably be the game of the day, along with, the team that's playing in Omaha today, or 2 teams playing from Omaha today, but one of them will begin the day. That's the Creighton Blue Jays. They'll be in a slobber knocker against Louisville, led by Omaha's own Chucky Hepburn. So it's just one of those beautiful mixes of, you got a lot of national stories, you have a lot of local stories, it's just a little bit of flavor everywhere, right? And this is what this weekend brings. It brings incredible sports, but it brings just the human aspect of things that maybe we don't get too much in sports. And so sit back, relax, and enjoy. Hey, we have a guest right now who's going to be coming up next, who
maybe she'll agree with you.
Knows exactly where to sit back, relax, and enjoy. She knows exactly where to take your money to put some food in your belly. She knows exactly the type of people across this town who want to nourish you more than what the NCAA tournament will nourish you this week. That's Sarah Baker Hansen. She'll be coming on. We're talking Steak Town, USA. I think it's part 2, right, Jimmy? Part 2?
I believe so.
Part 2. Don't go anywhere. Sarah Baker Hansen coming up next here on Gary and Matt. A lot of people in the YouTube comments right now are giving me credit for the fact that I love sandwiches. And
You've made me hungry for one. I don't know if I'm going to have that during basketball today, but I will destroy a sandwich at some point this weekend. In your honor.
Sandwiches are just not only are they a love language for me, but they're the perfect food to eat during the NCAA tournament in my regard. But someone who writes about things that are much better than sandwiches, that are much more sophisticated.
She could find a good sandwich.
That she could find the best sandwich place in all of Omaha and probably in all the country. It's Miss Sarah Baker Hansen. Sarah, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. You'll have to excuse my gravelly voice today.
What's
we'll
wrong?
blame yesterday.
Yeah, what happened?
Other than that, I'm doing great.
Were you at a concert or something like that? What's going on, Sarah?
No, I was not. I think I've just, the wild ride of a person with allergies.
Sure.
Spring for a week and then, sub-zero and then spring again. Sometimes my voice doesn't come out as well as it should in the morning.
It's all good.
So.
You just got to stay away from those parsnips, right? But hopefully, hey, it's the spring equinox today. So hopefully we can transition into more family-friendly, allergy-friendly weather. So, hey, before we get into this review that you just released today on a pretty cool, I'm looking at the pictures, I'm reading it right now. It looks like a hopping place to go to. For,
no pun intended there.
Pun definitely intended, actually. But so you have done 2 parts of Steak Town, USA. I loved the first 2. They were absolutely incredible. When can we expect part 3 coming up here?
Part 3 is going to be out next week.
Okay.
I am actually doing the interviews for the 3rd series later this afternoon, and really excited about it. We're going to have a lot of steak content coming your way in the next couple of weeks.
Can we get a little, and maybe if you want to say no to me, if you want to tell me, hey, screw off, don't talk, you want to give us a little hint, you want to drop a little something that maybe very smart people can put 2 and 2 together to figure out where your 3rd spot's at?
They probably won't figure it out exactly, but we are going older school for story 3.
Okay.
So
All righty.
We went pretty new school for story 2. We're going a little older for story 3.
Okay. So you did your newest review on a place called 30 Hop in West Omaha. I read the story. I'm looking at the outside of the place. I'm looking at the inside of the place. You took absolutely incredible pictures. For me, I'm reading this and I'm looking at it. It meets a little old school meets new school, modernization meets, nice tavern. I mean, just what is the ambience like at 30 Hop in West O?
A 30 Hop is, I think the first thing that took me back about it was just the sheer size of it.
It looks massive,
If you scroll down a little bit in the review, you can get a sense of kind of how big the building is that it's in. And I was just, a lot of restaurants that I review anymore, they are seating fewer than 100 people. And 30 Hop is huge. And both times I visited, it was absolutely packed with people. And I think you pretty much nailed it. It's a brewery, but it's kind of more of a tap room, I guess, than a brewery. But its original locations are in Iowa, and 30 Hop, the name of it is because they had 30 beers on tap at the original location.
Okay.
And so at our location, there's 32 beers on tap, and 27 of those beers are brewed in Nebraska, Iowa, or Kansas. And I thought that was such a cool detail.
Yeah.
That number one, they really are focused on local, which this Omaha dining audience cares a lot about. And number two, the fact that our brewery scene here in Nebraska has become successful enough that there can be 27 beers brewed almost all in Nebraska for them to be able to showcase on their 32 taps. And I thought that was like a nice way to start off the story, just because a lot of people do really enjoy drinking Nebraska brewed beer. And and that is a big part of what 30 Hop is about.
I need to find this quote here from you. I really liked it. You compare, I just missed it. Dang it. Where is it? Here. Okay. Here it is. It's a happening casual dining room that's a bit higher end than a sports bar, but still comfortable. To me, it fits in line with spots like Lincoln's Hopcat and Omaha's Let It Fly, but with a menu that has a more unusual, well-executed food that I'd return for, whether I cared about the game on television or not. I love that comparison because I went to UNL. I was in that Lincoln Hopcat all the time. I mean, that's where I lived, right? It had that casual feel of, the sport's on and they got a ton of beers, but man, I know I'm going to eat good. What is the key, you think, to finding that beautiful middle of, hey, you're comfortable here, but we're not going to shortchange you on the food you're going to eat?
Yeah, I think that that is really what I feel about it. And I also like Hopcat, and that is one of the main places that we go when we're in Lincoln for a basketball game or a football game. One of the things that I talked to the manager about before I wrote the review was kind of, what are they trying to do and what is their goal? And they've recently updated their menu. And my favorite thing I have in the story is this guy's quote, which is, "We aim to serve everyone from suits to sweats."
Yeah.
And I thought that was
It's a
really,
great
I liked
slogan.
that. It was very catchy, obviously. But when we got there, I was surprised by, they have like high-end burgers. They have sandwiches, which I know you guys were talking about before I came on, but they also have a big selection of sticky rice bowls and
I
noodle
saw
bowls.
that. That's
And
incredible.
I thought that was kind of surprising. And then I also really, they have tacos. And the tacos are sort of more kind of high end than you might expect. We're not just talking about like a crumbled beef taco, but, they're doing carnitas, the grilled shrimp, fish tacos. And then even in their appetizer list, like they have all the things you would expect. They have wings, they have spinach artichoke dip, they have guacamole, chips and dip, but then they have Bang Bang Brussels sprouts, buffalo cauliflower, which has kind of become one of my favorite apps. My family ordered a big selection of these apps. They have fries, but they're truffle fries, not just plain fries. And so I think, when you look at the menu as a whole, you can see that there are a lot of dishes that, that guys watching sports or people watching sports would like. But, my sister-in-law, for example, as soon as we sat down to have dinner with her, I knew she was going to have me covered in the rice bowl area because I knew that was what she was going to get. And that is what she got. And we also, we tried the spicy peanut noodles. We tried the ahi poke bowl, all super well executed. And I know, there's more places around Omaha to get things like that now, but really like loaded up with toppings. I mean, the price point on these bowls is around like $15 to $20.
Okay.
And that sounds high, I think, on paper. But then when you see the picture of the bowl and the list of the ingredients that are included on the bowl,
I'll pay
that
$15
kind
for
of
that
starts
burger.
to make a little more sense.
Yeah.
I mean, there are a lot of ingredients that have been prepped and, are fresh and really good and adding texture and flavor and different temperature variations to make for, a higher end kind of experience than you might expect walking in the door.
Some people might say, if you're going to be in just business in general, not just restaurant business, you either do the cheaper stuff really, really well, or you go high, you go into the high end stuff really, really well, right? And that sometimes if you get in the middle, you might get in trouble. But what makes it? I mean, when you I feel like especially in restaurants, when you execute the middle, like 30 Hop has been able to do, right? I feel like there's something awesome about it. There's something different about it that separates itself from doing the bottom or doing the top.
Yeah, I mean, it's well, I guess it's what we would kind of call casual food for the most part, right? Like bar and grill food. And certainly, if forced, I wouldn't be forced at all. If forced to have a conversation about the best sort of bar burgers in Omaha, I mean, we could talk for this entire segment and then probably, two more. There are a lot of really good bar and grill type experiences in Omaha. I mean, I can think of, I'm thinking of like several right off the top of my head. A Winchester Bar and Grill is great. The Stella's and Bellevue, like places that are known for burgers and have a good grill. Dinkers, for example, those types of places. And I think 30 Hop is taking those kind of super straightforward, simple bar and grill menus and just kind of elevating it enough that it all of a sudden feels like noticeably different, but not so different that if you really want to go to a place or eat that type of food, you can still get it. And it is well executed. And I talk in the review about one burger on the menu called the Umami Burger.
Which I think the one I want.
Is a good example of taking that classic kind of bar and grill, tavern, sports bar food, and maybe just like giving it a nudge toward something a little fancier without making it fancy. It doesn't feel fancy. It doesn't look fancy. It just a little bit nicer. And I feel like that's really smart. I think because, number one, there were a lot of women in the restaurant when we visited. And not that I don't like all those other places, I do.
Sure.
But, if I can get a nice mixed drink, which they have a very nice cocktail menu, wine list, those kinds of things at a bar where, perhaps we'll be watching NCAA tournament games, like that makes me want to be there all the more as a person who casually watches sports.
Well, I mean,
you know what I mean?
No, 1,000,000%. And you talk about, 30 Hop, it appeals to so many different crowds, right?
Yeah.
And I think that is especially in a just place like Omaha where it's, diverse in a lot of different ways. Like that's important. The fact that you can cater to so many different people.
And something for everyone is kind of a danger zone because, like,
yes, what are you good at? What's your specialty, right?
I think a lot of restaurants that I've reviewed over the years, and no specific examples of this that I can think of right now, but one of those things is like, you'll go to a restaurant, maybe they're specializing in kind of like, a little bit finer dining. Maybe they specialize, we'll just say they specialize in steak, right? And then you always see there's that one random chicken pasta dish on the menu. And that is there to serve a specific customer.
Sure.
And anytime I would order that dish, I would always be like, this dish sucks. It's no one's put any thought into it. It's only here for that one customer who doesn't eat red meat, but doesn't want seafood, doesn't want to spend the money on whatever the special is, just wants a basic chicken pasta. And that's always what it is. And so,
it's like the pork chops at a steakhouse, right?
Yeah. Like, don't have it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's not that good. Just take it off and don't be someplace that tries to cater to every single diner. It's okay not to do that, but I do think that, in a very pleasant and surprising way, those bowls and some of the other dishes like the tacos, turned out to be some of the best things that we tried, the most interesting, well executed things that we tried. So I thought that was pretty impressive.
Look, I know if you look out your window, it doesn't look like the spring equinox is upon us and we're getting into, better weather. But I mean, like it was 2 days ago, it was quite beautiful. We're right around the corner to that. And when the weather like this starts to, hopefully in the next couple of weeks, get warmer and we don't have to deal with these hail and blizzards anymore, right? It calls for patio season. It calls for patio beer.
My favorite topic.
It counts for a rooftop, Sarah. It counts for just that beautiful 75-degree day with a nice little breeze when, you're out with your friends for the first time in what seems like months. You're out of hibernation. You're having your favorite beer. As a newcomer here to Omaha, I need some spots. Where are the patios at? Where are the rooftops at? Where do you like to indulge and have those perfectly beautiful sun-kissed beers on a spring?
She's the right person to ask. That's what I did.
I love patios.
Me too.
I can't wait for it to be patio season. Last year I did a list of patios.
Okay.
That I'll boot up on my blog and send to you. Patio season after yesterday feels a little bit closer. I mean, yesterday maybe that was it. Hopefully. but yeah, I mean, there are so many great options all around Omaha, and actually, 30 Hop has an all seasons patio.
Nice.
That they were planning to open up last week. Sure, it was closed yesterday, or maybe even they were closed yesterday. But I do think we'll start to see those popping up, and I'll pull up that list and share it with you on Twitter.
Absolutely.
And, you can check it out and see what you think.
First one that comes to your head right now. Bang. First patio place.
La Bouvette. I mean, come on, La Bouvette.
La Bouvette. All right. It's
the place.
We're here, right? We're finally here. We're finally to the point where we can have some porch beers and a couple of other things come. Hey, Sarah, before I let you go here, Sarah Baker Hansen, by the way, the Flatwater Fruit Press, just does incredible food reviews, an incredible critic. Can you preview anything for me? What else do you have coming up next? What else can we look forward to? Plug yourself here. As always, give us the goods to go and read your great articles.
Well, like I said, we've got the next installment of Steak Town coming in 2 weeks. And then when I debuted the series, as promised, I mentioned that I was going to be visiting some steakhouses around the state of Nebraska. So the 2 weeks after that, we will have my first statewide stake story. So more on that soon.
Okay.
And then after that, more Steak Town, probably a fresh restaurant review. I've got a couple places in mind that I've been seeing a lot of buzz about online, and I love to review the buzzy place and tell you if it's actually as good as everybody says it is. So I'll be doing that coming up soon.
Awesome. Sarah, thank you so much for coming on as always. We'll see you in 2 weeks, all right?
See you soon.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye.
Sarah Baker Hansen. Man, aren't you just excited for patio season now? I mean, aren't you just...
Oh, yes. Yes. Back when I used to go out and go places, yes, I loved doing that.
Patio season is definitely the March Madness of beer drinking season.
When you get them to line up with the tournament, because sometimes the weather lines up perfectly.
We're getting there a little bit right now.
It's going to be 50 today. I mean, I know there's a lot of snow to melt.
Tomorrow could be better.
62 tomorrow. Decent this weekend. And then 70s at the end of next week. So we're there.
We're there.
We had a hiccup yesterday. We got through it
yesterday. But hey, we're taking it one game at a time, taking it one day at a time. You need this. Do
we know if Jacob got out of town?
I don't know.
I hope he did.
Can we get a Bigelow update? I can text him right now.
I'm so excited for his trip. I hope it still happens.
Look, I'm going to tell you something right now. It's not too often. We said it earlier. 2006 and 2017 was the last time that a 12 was favored against a 5. It makes for incredibly disappointing things to happen, if we're being honest, because the last couple of years we've had, and I've noticed this a little bit, like we've had those like 12, 13 seed darlings, right? That we all think are going to make big runs.
It's hard though, because there's some that everyone gets on certain ones.
Yeah.
And
like
that's
UC
when I
San
stay
Diego,
away. See,
UC San Diego is one of them, but Jimmy.
I know. I watched them the other night.
If you look at the shot chart.
I watched Tate Jones.
If you look at the shot chart, Michigan does really well in the paint and on the right 3-point wing. UC San Diego plays their best defense in the paint and on the right 3-point wing. All right, that's where they live on defense. So
as long as Michigan doesn't turn over the ball, they should win.
But there's no such thing as Michigan not turning over the ball because that's what they do best.
I set you up for that.
Other than having two lanky 7-footers running around everywhere, I know the size advantage is going to be difficult. But
they need to establish it right away.
It's not as if though you have two Dwight Howards in the paint. Like I don't want to call Danny Wolf soft, but he definitely isn't one of those like physical.
Right.
He's
not
more
Shaq.
of a finesse 7-1. Vlad Golden is physical.
Well, his name's Vlad.
Yeah.
There's only one way.
There's nothing,
Vlad.
Man, when you have a good...
You don't mess with that. Yeah.
When you have a good European big man, not like the stretch European big man.
No,
I'm talking about
like
Stojakovic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Guy from the Pelicans.
Valanciunas?
Yes.
Oh.
There's a guy. That's exactly who I think
Here's
of.
a guy.
Here's a guy.
Here's a guy. He's a banger. He's just a banger down low. When you just have these...
Steven Adams, another great example of a dude that's going to go bang in there.
Sure, Australian,
New Zealand.
If we're just doing anyone not from America, Serge Ibaka is one where you're like, oh my God, absolutely, every single time. Hey, the Sabonis's, both his father, DeMontis is more of a finesse guy, but his father definitely was a banger.
Yeah. Look, he's not your Vitas, he's not my Vitas, he's our Vitas.
Our Vitas, and our Vlad Golden, at least Gary Sharp's Vlad Golden, because he absolutely disagrees with me in that regard. Hey, you're just fading the public. I'm pretty sure 80% of the money is on UC San Diego, but the line hasn't moved yet, which indicates that sharp money may be on the Michigan Wolverines. I do want to reiterate again, the Big Ten champion has not done well in the tournament as of late. Hey, we're going to take a little break. We're going to take a slight little break from college basketball, just for like 10 minutes. Just give ourselves a
recharge,
just a little bit of a reboot.
It's
Things
a marathon.
happened in the NFL yesterday,
not a sprint.
Okay, things happened in baseball. Like there's just we're going to take a deep breath. We're going to with other sports, and then we're going to hit it back running at the end of the hour, and then we'll have Stephen M. Sipple at 9:15, and then we'll money, make you some money with Brian Edwards. I'm going to tell him about my board. I'm really hoping that BE doesn't totally disagree with me. So we got a lot to come up. An incredible day, an incredible tournament. Sit back, relax, listen to me, watch some pregame shows, enjoy yourself today. Hey, you deserved this break. You're listening to Gary and Matt. It's tourney day. Creighton Blue Jays tip off at 11:15. Let's go through the whole schedule right now. Creighton tips off at 11:15. You can catch the pregame here for your Creighton Blue Jays as soon as we get off the air. They take on both these teams, by the way, are way too low in terms of seeds. So, it's shocking to me that Creighton made it all the way to the Big East title game and they still were 9. So, they definitely weren't like a 10 heading in. I don't know.
I really thought they were 7.
I thought they'd be an 8. I thought after beating UConn, basically on the road,
I think they're a pretty good
that
team.
was another Q1 win. You'd think maybe that would have. I already had them as an 8 beginning the Big East tournament. So then the fact that they won a Q1 game and then they didn't look great against.
Well, at that point, you might as well just lose and be healthy, since it obviously does nothing for you unless you win it.
But once again, it gets back to the conversation where it makes no sense that it seems like games that happen in November and December mean way more than games that happen in March in conference tournaments. It just, Michigan, where were they before they won the Big Ten tournament and won 3 quad 1 games? Where were they? Were they a 7? Were they a 6? But apparently in the SEC, if you win a tournament game, it just automatically gets you in.
That's on ESPN for you, even though they don't control the tournament.
Yeah, we just put way too much stock in stuff that should not matter as
what's funny
when
is
we get to the actual playoffs.
None of this is probably going to matter come first weekend in April. That's usually what happens.
I know.
We bitch and whine, and that's the business, and that's what we do, and about brackets and who got screwed and what.
Yeah.
It ain't going to mean a damn thing in a couple weeks. Usually. Sometimes it's wrong. Hey, Carolina goes on a run, then you got to have that conversation. Oh, they weren't supposed to get in. They went on a run. But if things go like people think they should go to an extent, because there's still going to be upsets. I hope so. I mean, that's why we watch. Gary said it last year, and I've always thought this too. And so I was like, okay, I'm with you here. We want upsets the first weekend. We want endings like that first play-in game on Tuesday night. But come second weekend, we want the heavy hitters. We want the big dogs because we want to watch ball. You get Princeton against whatever, nice story, but you'd rather get Clash of Titans because that's what you get into when you get, say, a Duke playing an Alabama or something like that. And so I think I'm not saying it's going to go chalk, but I'm just saying all these things that they were lower, they were less, they were seeded less.
Even if it does go chalk, I'm kind of cool with it because if it goes chalk, you have 8 damn good teams, a group of 8 damn good teams, and even down to the 3 seeds. I mean,
hey, if we get a good Final Four,
who's going to complain?
Yeah,
who's complaining? Are you complaining?
No one says, you know what? I wish the crap teams would have been in. Why can't we get 4 16s in? No, we want to see the big names, either to enjoy them, take it in, root for them, or even hate them. It's just how it goes, but you're engaged. You watch.
Really interesting here. So the betting percentages here on the spread, 61% of the money on Michigan. So a lot of people, I don't know, UC San Diego is this darling. And
but they hear this too.
Talked to you before. I just really like the matchup.
Right.
That they have, UC San Diego against Michigan, because what UC does well, Michigan doesn't, and that's not just across of the turnovers and steals, but it's also where UC San Diego shoots the ball, where Michigan defends the ball, where Michigan shoots the ball, and where UC San Diego defends the ball well. It's literally the matchups are pointing on the charts and the spreads and the numbers, everything toward UC San Diego. But I think that it's one of those things maybe where we're kind of sitting here and we're like, yeah, people are too high on a 12. We'll take the 5. I don't know. It's interesting here.
You can argue both sides of that.
I love looking at the lines and looking at where people are betting, just because there's that interesting mixture of stats and analytics and eye test, but also gut, right? I mean,
it tells you if you're onto something.
Gut. Oh, absolutely. And so,
Matt's big board.
Matt's big board. We'll get back to the big board in a second because we got other games.
And you worked hard on it.
I did. Let me tell you something right now.
I caught the autograph thing when you said that. I was like, I noticed that.
You think the big board is big now. Tomorrow, I like tomorrow's board even better. All right, there's a tease for you. I think I'm going to have 8 games on the front page of the big board tomorrow. Not a joke. Tomorrow's board's incredible. But hey, 11:15, Creighton takes on Louisville. 11:40, High Point and Purdue. That's a 7-point line right now.
See,
then 12:30, Montana takes on Wisconsin. That is a weird 14-3 that no one's really talking about. We've heard a lot.
I like the Huss Bus. He's a damn good basketball
I don't
coach.
think it's going to match. I don't think it matches up well for them. I don't.
Even without an Edie this year.
Well, Purdue is really weak in the paint. They're bad. Like, they are one of the rare teams in the NCAA tournament where they just cannot defend the middle. But unfortunately for High Point, they shoot the three, and I just don't think you can beat Purdue if you don't expose the middle enough. And if we're just talking best on best, if we're going to play an offensive battle, I'll take Purdue in that, especially. And like, I like Alan Huss. I think Alan Huss is a damn good coach. It's just one of the. I just don't think it's a good matchup. Skiles make fights, guys. This is the NCAA tournament is the UFC. Okay, Skiles make fights.
Yes,
you can be better.
I mean, that's like NBA playoffs.
Yeah, but
I
think the NBA is a little bit different where the skill is so high.
Well, yeah, the skill is high, but you still have to deal with styles and the tactician of a playoff series.
You need your coach a little bit more.
But this is what makes the one and done such a. You don't play a good game. Oh man, we're going home.
Here's an interesting one: Alabama State. 79% of the money is on their spread against Auburn.
That Auburn doesn't cover. What is it?
I think that is let me look at. I mean, depends on where you look at. I can give it to you right now. That game tips off at 150. It's 32 points.
Yeah, I could see them not covering. I mean, they'll still blow them out, but yeah, 32. That's a lot.
VCU, BYU. This is surprising. The battle of the letters. You would think that the money would be coming in more so on VCU because they've kind of been a tournament darling.
I'm high on BYU. You are too.
I have them in my Final Four. 50% of the money coming in on the Cougars/Mormons. 305 is that tip. Interesting matchup here. Gonzaga, UGA. Gonzaga, so they're it's weird. They lost to Santa Clara and Oregon State, which is why, and they also lost to St. Mary's twice. So there's 4 losses for you that typically in Gonzaga
they're
years
not
past,
the typical Zags.
No, but
per se.
The reason why Ken Palm likes them in the net rankings like them, when you look at their matchups against Power 5 teams, I think every single one of them except one, win or loss, has been within 8 points. So,
and Mark Few knows what he's doing.
Yes, and Mark Few's an incredible
He's
coach.
been there before.
Like if you go down, they beat Baylor early in the year when Baylor was ranked. They beat them by 38. They then lose to Virginia. That was in overtime. That was an 8-point loss. They play Indiana. They beat Indiana. But then you look at, they play Kentucky and they lose to them, 1 point in overtime. They play UConn and lose to them. That's 6 points, right? They play UCLA. They lose to them. That's 3 points. So the reason why these metrics really like Gonzaga is, yes, they're not in a Power 5 conference, but they played high-quality Power 5 teams very well.
They might be built for this.
They're going to be built to be in a competitive game, which is there's no surprise why Georgia and them are basically split right now in terms of where the spread is at in terms of money coming in. Wofford over Tennessee, Wofford plays Tennessee, 550 tip. And then a game that everybody's got circled on their calendars, right? That's Arkansas versus KU. You can argue that is the greatest coaching matchup in the first round ever. Calipari
Self and Calipari. I've seen that game before.
I know. Yale takes on Texas A&M. That's an upset everybody likes. That's at 625. Drake plays Mizzou at 635.
I like Drake.
That's an interesting game. That's another Skiles make fights. And Drake is not only is Drake really good at slowing down the pace and playing on their own, but they're one of the best defensive teams in the country as well.
By the way, this isn't my anti-Mizzou slant. I just really like Drake.
Another thing about Drake is that they cause turnovers. So there's a difference, right, between steals and turnovers. They cause turnovers, their opponent to have turnovers 14% of the time. That's actually the highest mark in the country. So while we make a lot about this team's pace of play, and the fact that Ben McCollum has been able to take 4 D2 guys and make them into, a legitimate machine in the MOVO, like they were really well coached in the defensive end as well. And so they're an interesting mix of like, hey, they're going to do what they do on offense, but there's no such thing as an easy possession against Drake.
If they win, you shouldn't be surprised.
They almost grind you down on both sides of the floor, which, when you're playing a team teams in general that are more athletic than you, that's what you have to do. This is an interesting one. Utah State taking on UCLA. So a lot of the money here on the money line is coming in on the money line is coming in on the Bruins, but the spread, a lot of money is coming in on Utah State. And then Nebraska, Omaha playing St. John's after that. That's an 845 tip.
Of Queens.
So, funny enough, 8% of the money, 8% are betting on the money line for St. John's to beat Omaha. Or sorry, I read that wrong. 8% of the bet, okay, is coming for Omaha to beat St. John's. But 64% of the money bet is being put on Nebraska, or is being put on Omaha. So that means that, I don't know, there's some big hitters out there.
Saying
on
it's
this
going to be
money
closer
line.
than the experts think.
Could be.
And I could see that.
UC San Diego versus Michigan. Sorry, go ahead.
We've been teased because we've been told that if the Mavs win tonight, there is a trash can celebration that will break the internet.
That will rock.
I would like to see that tonight on the Twitter versus we hear about it when Gary gets back. I'm like, oh, it would have been great. And I want to see it.
Hey,
I have no idea.
Hey, Platcat in the comments goes, the Movo. No one in their life has called the Missouri Valley the Movo. That's not true.
I have.
Gary Sharp calls it the Movo, which is why I started calling it the Movo. Get off me, Platcat. Platcat gets on me for stuff. I don't blame him a lot of times. That's one. I'm right there. It's the Movo.
Oh,
Missouri Valley.
I was like, Platcat is great to us.
He's great. Well, he pushes me. He makes me better. Then we'll go here. We'll just finish up the betting part of all this stuff. I got to get back to my betting lines. UC Wilmington at 9:10. That's the final game of the day. Texas Tech, I think we'll roll them. So there you go. Hey, there was some news in the NFL. It was a weird NFL news type day where just a lot of different things were coming in. I feel like we've been getting these over the last week and a half to 2 weeks where it's out of nowhere, just a bunch of NFL news dropped on top of you. Everyone is waiting for Aaron Rodgers to make his decision. And unfortunately for people, the JFK files have been released. So I think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be taking his time reading all of those things before he goes ahead and decides what team he wants to play football for.
Man, I'm over that dude.
I'm over. I've been over him for a decade.
Man, he loves him some Self. Not Bill Self. I mean, who doesn't love Bill?
Stud.
Bill's a great dude. Hey, Bill's
Aaron
a great dude. I'm not just
both
saying.
front runners. He's a stud.
He's like Sasha Khan, which you might remember. He was on our 08 team, and we beat Cal in San Antonio, and that's where the Final Four is this year. And San Antonio's good to the Big 12. It's good to Kansas. It used to be good to the Huskers too when they had the Alamo Bowl.
Aaron Rodgers has become a wuss, and
there it is.
and he has been a wuss for a while because he played for a wuss organization for most of his career. And I'm talking about the Green Bay Packers, of course, who proposed a league rule yesterday to ban officially. Now, this was news earlier, reportedly they got outed as the team who wanted the tush push gone. They have fully gone into it. They fully proposed yesterday to ban the tush push. It is so dumb that we have to have this conversation. The fact that a team does what is illegal about the tush push? What have the Eagles done that any team in the past couldn't have done before?
I would argue it hurts the Eagles linemen more than anything.
Yeah,
they're no, we run it. We don't need to ban it, but don't lie to us. It hurts.
It hurts.
Jason Kelsey used to talk about he didn't miss that.
No, and but at the same time, if
Jalen Hurts, it
other
hurts.
teams have tried to do it.
Yeah, if you don't like it, stop it.
They're unable to do it. Okay, because people can stop it. The Eagles are just unique in the fact that they have a roster construction where it's they're able to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, if you don't want them to do it anymore, stop it like you've done at all the other teams. The fact that we're blaming something that just because they can do it better than you,
just
you
like
don't
when
want
someone
them to do it anymore. It's so dumb.
Well, it's just like when someone complains about overtime. Oh, here we go again. Let's change the overtime rules again. You ever just leave it alone?
What's the difference between there is a difference in terms of the impact that it's had, but there isn't a principal difference in the Golden State Warriors becoming incredibly good at 3-point shooting and the Eagles doing this tush push. And and let me get there, because everybody could shoot 3-pointers before the Warriors did. Okay, that was an option that you could do.
Yes, I've seen it for many years.
It's not as if the 3-point line just appeared and the Warriors took advantage of it. No, it had been
the Spurs
there.
were doing this in 2014.
And going ahead, and the Warriors are hey, we're going to build a roster and get guys who are really good at doing this. And they went ahead and they did it. No one was saying, oh, we have to ban the 3-point line now.
And then we get mad at the Celtics.
Are so good.
That's all they do.
Exactly. They looked at the game. They said, hey, this is something we really, really do well. We're going to go ahead and do it.
You get an extra point.
It's within the rules of the game. What are we going to stand up here and say? The Warriors can't shoot 3-pointers anymore? The Eagles looked at their roster construction. They looked at what they're strong at. They looked at an aspect of the game that people are hadn't been doing. They changed the game and they executed it to a point. Now we're just going to ban it. It's soft. It's soft. Just like if you were pushing the 3-point back or complaining about anything like that, that's soft. All right. There's nothing stopping any other team
These things
from
are
being
cyclical.
as good as this play than the Eagles. And there's nothing stopping any other team in basketball from being as good as the Warriors have been at shooting the ball. It's just one of those things where it's like, kudos to them for being able to do that thing. And if you want to ban it, you're soft. And the Packers are soft. So there you go. Another rule proposed.
Are you allowed to defend the shooter shooting the 3?
Yes, you are. You can go. Are you allowed to defend the tush
play
push?
defense?
That's a great point.
Wow. Okay. I was making sure. I was trying to follow along with you.
I don't think there are any rules.
So you can't just shoot wide open threes
No.
on purpose. It's
No.
just if you get open type. Okay.
And I don't think anyone has to part the Red Sea when the Eagles go ahead and line up on the line of scrimmage. It's
No, I
just a
think-
stupid thing to get mad over. Another thing too, and we have Rich on the line, so we'll get to Rich in a second.
I
Don't
like
go
when you
anywhere,
get
Richie.
crotchety because you remind me of me.
I know. I just get mad.
Ugh.
The Lions have proposed a rule, and it was interesting. They want the number 1 seed, the team with the best record in both divisions, to have the
Every
1
year?
seed in the
Oh.
bye. But they want 2 through 7 to then be seeded by record, essentially eliminating divisions. And winning your division gets you one of the top seeds in a home field advantage. There are some things in sports that don't make sense. Okay. And that's probably one of those things. It probably does make sense that a 7-9
Can
Seattle
host.
Seahawks team could end up hosting a home playoff game. But have you ever met anybody where they're just like too normal and they're too boring? And you're like, meh. Like, just because things make sense doesn't mean that they're better.
Right.
Right? Some of your best friends, and this is just everybody, are wackos. They're crazy. They're very different.
They were my favorite friends.
And they're your favorite people. Like, not everything needs to make sense.
Maybe
Not
I used to be
everything
one of
needs to be
those.
normal. We have been on this tirade in sports in general and just eliminating all of the things that make certain things unique. You know what? Is it stupid that a team could have a really bad year and end up hosting a playoff game? Probably. That doesn't mean we have to get rid of it. It's just one of those weird things that we do. And
Also,
it makes,
if you're
and
better-
it makes it different. It makes it special. It
Why don't
adds
you just
a little
beat 'em?
twist.
Why don't you just win?
Nobody likes movies because it goes down the line exactly how you think it should go. People like movies because there's weird things that happens and there's twists down the road. This is one little twist that the NFL has. And you know what? I would like to keep it because there's a lot of weird things we do in sports that we just want to eliminate now because we're so obsessed with having everything make the most sense.
Everyone's got to overreact.
Now, if too many things don't make sense, then yes, there needs to be some, legislator that makes it make sense. Right?
And
If
thus
too
the
many
NIL
things-
discussion and
we can't
giving
make
the
things
rules.
too chaotic.
Yeah.
But there are some just little tiny slivers of chaotic that I like to have in my sports. Don't eliminate one of those things. Another rule that I actually agree with that has been proposed is getting rid of the first down. So when there's a hold, there's the yardage penalty, which is 5 yards, but then
It's
have
an automatic first down.
first down. The Lions want to get rid of the automatic first down. I agree with that. It doesn't line up. Like automatic first down just for holding, like just do the yards. Automatic first down is just way too much for holding. Okay, there you go. There's your little NFL news. Hey, Daniil Hunter got a 1-year, $35 million deal. These non-quarterback deals are getting absolutely out of control. We'll see how that affects the cap going down the line. Rich, how are you, buddy? You're asking what could have been. What could have been, Rich?
History is made today in a lot of ways.
Yes.
And that's cool.
Yes.
That is absolutely cool. We know the blue does their part. We know that now the black does their part.
Yes.
But this was supposed to be a threesome.
Yeah.
Just because we go to the prom doesn't mean you have to go out and have an affair, Nebraska. You started 12-2.
Yeah.
12-2. And you wet the bed down the stretch. So that basically says we were waiting for you. We had the Willy Wonka golden ticket for you, and you guys couldn't do your part. It's embarrassing. That's one thing we're not talking about. We're talking about this was supposed to be a threesome. And guess what?
Said that before.
We only have 2 at the dance. And I am happy for Creighton. I am super happy for UNO. But the situation is this, is it's supposed to be a threesome, and this was 1 year that we can actually say we're a basketball state and we didn't make it happen.
Hey, Rich, one hell of a call.
It's a great call.
And you know what? That's one hell of a transition because you know what? Coming up next, we will talk about those bedwetters and the fact that they are embarrassing themselves, even though they aren't in the dance like their two in-state counterparts. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Gary Matt.
Hey, those of you that like money, and well, most of you do, and if you don't, hey, more power to you. This is your last week to get registered for Censored 1620. It's time for the College Basketball Championship and the sweet insert number here that comes after 15. You get it. Registration runs through the 23rd. On the 26th, we'll, not us, but somebody in this building will select 16 listeners to be paired with 16 teams. Remember, on April 7th, the champion will be crowned. And you might be too. The winner who is paired with the overall champion will win $1,620 to be paid to you all in ones. Yeah. Second place receives $500. Third and fourth places each receive $100. Fifth places and below receive not a damn thing. It's really that simple. Head to 1620thezone.com/censored1620 right now to enter to be part of Censored 1620. Have fun. They did last year.
Shout out to the last caller, Rich, who had, I don't know if Rich was already on the communicator seating board, but if he is, he's moved up a seed. And if he isn't, he's automatically a 3 seed.
He just wants his team to win.
Well, he just dropped one of the best drops I've heard. It was supposed to be a threesome, according to Rich.
Which there are people listening, like, I've been there.
Hashtag out of contest 1620 the zone. That's what happens when Gary Sharp isn't in the studio. And
but
Gary
in the
Sharp,
end, in the end, Matt, Nebraska was left in the chair in the corner just watching.
Jeez.
Nebraska ball.
Stop.
Not the whole school.
Stop.
It's the truth.
Stop. Gary Sharp not in studio because he is on the road in Providence, Rhode Island.
Yes.
Because the Omaha Mavericks are
doing the Lord's
hopefully
work.
Going to shock the world. John Bishop and, everybody else is not going to be on the air today. Right after.
We're the only show.
We're the only show
That's
today.
it.
We will go straight into Creighton basketball, where our very own John Bishop will be on the call. And then hopefully both those guys will be on the call on Saturday as well to announce the round of 32.
John already analyzing today's official matchup to get a feel for how the whistles will be.
Yeah. Hopefully it's
Let 'em play.
nothing
play.
worse. Nothing worse than too many whistles during the
Let 'em
NCAA tournament. And every Creighton Blue Jay fan currently having PTSD over that still terrible call in the Elite Eight. Anyway,
bad.
Rich had a great call. Rich talked about it was supposed to be a threesome and the fact that Nebraska basketball had a golden opportunity to be in the NCAA tournament today. And man, it would have been cool if they were also playing today to have all 3 D1 division basketball programs playing on one day in the NCAA tournament. But that's what happens when you blow opportunities. But despite all of that, they have managed to keep themselves within the news. They will be playing in the Crown, the Vegas Crown tournament in 2 weeks. Let's be honest, we're all going to watch it. We're all going to watch it.
We're contractually obligated.
We're not going to like it, but we're all going to watch it. And this team continues to keep themselves within the news. And yesterday it was announced that Riley Wooster had suffered a turf toe injury in November and had been playing through it for a vast majority, or it was either November or December. I have to
November, I think.
I think it was November.
But that explains everything. Yeah, they should have been 30-4.
And he did not play well down the stretch. And it's just like, man.
And he didn't.
I understand what Fred is doing. And like, look, these are things that we should know about. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, there should be transparency and why. It was in late November he got a turf toe injury that definitely. I mean, turf toe is no joke. If you've ever had it, turf toe is no joke. It sucks to play on, especially basketball. But it's like
it ruined the '98 Cowboys season because Dion got it.
This is one of those things where you just kind of wish they went off into the abyss. It's just one of those things where now you're thinking, now you're like, man, like now I feel bad for maybe being too critical on Wooster because he was actually toughing it out really well during the season. And, like, damn, like what if he didn't get a turf toe? What if he was playing better? Maybe that could have been the difference in some really close games that they've played. Like now you're thinking about like, oh my God, injuries. And it's like, you just wish they just went off into the ether, that they just kind of disappeared. That,
just go to Vegas and play golf.
Yeah, just after losing to Iowa and not being able to qualify for the tournament, it's one of those things you hear that comes across your news feeds and you're like, you know what? I didn't need that. Just like I don't need to watch this team play in the Crown. We've seen this team play plenty enough. Like
I can't guarantee that I will.
We're okay. Like we'll
see. What else is on TV?
This is one of those things where it just always comes back, and we've been asking the same question for the last 2 weeks of this team is not the team that needed to continue to be, the point of conversation and talked about, especially with this Vegas tournament. But it's so hard not to talk about them because of how polarizing they were this year. So There you go. Just
Spring football starts next week,
because
right?
Rich called and Rich had brought up the fact that they should have been in the tournament.
Should have been in the threesome.
Damn it, Rich, I agree with you. They should have been in the tournament. We'll talk about them. We'll give them attention, but
you can have one in Vegas. Many do.
I don't know, man. It's just one of those things. You see Raleigh Worcester got injured, and you're like, damn it. Like, that's our starting point guard, a guy that was really, really important. You come to find out that he was nursing a seriously just injury to play with. And that's what happens when you keep yourself in the mix. But the two teams that we'll continue to talk about and hopefully continue to talk about tomorrow and next week are the Omaha Mavericks and the Creighton Blue Jays. Hey, we've had a lot of people emailing us and tweeting at us and whatever. Hey,
you're going to read them.
We're going to read them. We're going to go over your comments, man, because this is an exciting day in Nebraska sports. You're listening to Gary and Matt. All right, we got 1 hour left of the show, and then we'll head into pregame for the Creighton Blue Jays taking on the Louisville Cardinals in Lexington, Kentucky. We have a good hour ahead of you, so we'll start with just first off. I got a little big board to re-show the
Shout
people.
out Matt's
we got
big board.
some emails to read, some tweets to read. Then we'll have Stephen M. Sipple at 9:15. And if you thought you can make money with me at the beginning of the hour, you will make money with Brian Edwards at the end of the hour, because Brian Edwards is one of the top guys this year, our Vegas insider when it comes to gambling on college basketball. Look, I have his board. Mm-hmm. Brian has sent me his board. I'm telling you right now, Jimmy, it's a damn good board. We'll first go to the Equitable Bank inbox.
Well done.
Equitable
it's harder
Bank,
than you think to say.
They take banking personally. Joey writes into the Equitable Bank
Hi, Joey.
inbox. He goes, I would not be surprised if I looked up and Omaha was still in the game in the second half against St. John's. Crazy, but everything Matt said is my thought as well. Look, St. John's is one of those teams, man, where it's like, first off, it's Rick Pitino. Take him to strip clubs and casinos. All right? This guy is
Maybe he
legit.
should go to the Crown.
I mean,
that makes too much sense when you put it that way.
He is the guy. He is one of the greatest coaches, not only just in college basketball, but just basketball in general. And however you feel about him and the things that he's done in the off the court or whatever, he is a dude. And man, I think if I'm Omaha and I'm the Mavericks, it's awesome that I got a guy like Chris Crutchfield who's done an incredible job for the Mavs this year, that he gets to have the experience and his staff gets to have the experience of
and he
going
gets his
up
guys
against
to believe.
Exactly. Well, I'll tell you something right now. When we talk about this Omaha team, they're not in Providence for two and a barbecue. All right? That's not how this team is built. That's not the attitude of this roster. The attitude of this roster the entire year has been, hey, we're the best. We don't care that this is a South Dakota, North Dakota, South Dakota State, North Dakota State Summit League. We do not give a damn that we know that there are people at the top of this conference that don't want us to win. We are who we are. We don't give a damn that we were picked eighth, to finish eighth in the conference this year. We don't give a damn that our best player, Frankie Fiddler, is now playing for the Michigan State Spartans. We do not give a damn. We are who we are. And man, they started off the season rough, 4-9, but Coach Chris Crutchfield knew he had a good team. He knew they could believe in themselves. They absolutely did that, especially after the Cal Polytech game. And there's no, I don't know if I could find you a team in the country that really matches up well other than the one seeds than St. John's. Like there is no team that is outside of their seed line where you're like, man, maybe Texas Tech. But other than that, it's hard to match up well against a team that is that big, that is that long, that is that athletic, and that well coached.
You know how I see it, Matt? Okay, so we were talking about this off air the other day. 20 years ago, damn, I can't believe it's been 20 years. I was at the then Ford Center in Oklahoma City the night Kansas lost to Bucknell, student media.
Oh.
And after the game, listening to the Bucknell coach, he said something that has always stuck with me when it comes to upsets. And I know it sounds obvious, but I always think of this. He told his team, we are going to play this game in 4-minute segments to each media timeout.
Yeah.
Just 4-minute segments. Just outplay them, run your stuff, play good basketball. And then when you get to the last 4-minute segment, it's balls out, because at that point, it does not matter what their jersey says.
No.
It does not matter what your jersey says. It is a basketball game. It is a battle of wills, and you have to impose your will on the other team. And if Omaha can get it to that last 4 minutes, yes, there's going to be a bunch of St. John's fans there, but I guarantee you, everybody else in that building is going to adopt the Mavericks.
Damn right. Damn right.
And if they knock out St. John's, win the game, they're going to probably adopt them even more on Saturday there, because this is how it works. So once you get to that point and you're the underdog, you have this adrenaline that you can't explain, because at that point, you are a one seed in your mind. You're like, hell, let's match toe-to-toe with them. We are in the Big East.
Absolutely. Well, another thing is, too, how do you win these games, Jimmy? The other team beats themselves.
Yep. Don't turn the ball over. Make your free throws for the love of God, because if you miss them, you're losing.
So here's the thing.
Regardless of who you are.
St. John's doesn't make their free throws.
Oh.
And St. John's doesn't hit their three-point shots.
And when it starts to get tight down the stretch.
There you go. And what happens when...
This is what Memphis did in 08 in the championship game.
Yeah. I mean, you're absolutely right. You play mini games.
You feel that weight.
Play mini games.
You've been waiting all day.
We're gonna beat them in this 4. We're gonna beat them in the next 4. And then at the same time, too, man, this St. John's team, they don't make their threes They don't make their free throws. They've been doing things that can self-destruct at times. And you know what? What Omaha has? You know what when you're on that upset, when the other team is self-imploding and not doing the things that they need to do, what do you need? You need a little bit of magic.
Mm-hmm.
You don't think Tony Osborne
you hit a shot
has a little bit of magic? You don't think Lance Waddles? We saw him do it at North Dakota State at the beginning of the year, which kind of sparked the Summit League run. You don't think Lance Waddles has a little bit of magic in him? You don't think that J.J. White's got a little bit of magic in him? You don't think that Markel Sutton, who's a Summit League Player of the Year, who's going to be playing at a Power 5 conference next year, who's going to make a lot of damn money because he's that
Deservedly
damn good?
So. What if he's showing off
he's
tonight?
Got a little magic? Mm-hmm. I'm telling you, man. Look, I'm not putting my hammer down and saying Omaha's going to do it and whatever because it's so damn tough.
No, we're just saying these are recipes that if it happens,
they got a little chutzpah. They got a little attitude,
and that's it.
They got confidence. I was at that selection show game, and they were sitting there, and every time they weren't selected to be the 15th seed to play the next 2 seed, they would say, "Oh, that 2 seed got lucky. Oh, damn, I wanted to play."
They really believe it.
They're not there to have fun. They're not there and soaking up, "Oh my God, this is great. This is incredible." No. They're there to stay. And this is the attitude.
Yeah, they plan on coming back Sunday.
Yes, they do. This is the attitude
to pack for San Francisco
has had the entire season. And like what you said, what'd you say? That happens in close games with 2 seeds when things get tight.
I've seen it so many times in person. We've seen it on TV where that fear starts to get. I mean, you go back, watch any 15-2, and hey, shout out to Steve Murfield here because I always think of him this time of the year when he was coaching Hampton. And in 01, I got home. I was in high school. I got home to watch the end of that game out in Boise. And Iowa State, they had some dudes that year. Jamal Tinsley, Marcus Pfizer. That was a great damn team that was in the Elite Eight the year before. Many people had them winning it all in 01 or at least getting to the Final Four and matching up against Duke and Shane Battier. And then they're playing a 15 on an late afternoon in Boise, and it gets close. Now you start second guessing.
Yeah.
Are
we really that good?
I don't know if I want this shot. I'll pass it. Oh, and then what do you miss? That rim seems to get so small. Yet for them, everything falls because everyone's gotten into the game. Like the kid 20 years ago from Vermont who hits the shot from the parking lot to put Syracuse away. Yeah. Or we talked about him yesterday. Jacob's BFF, Ali Farouk-Manesh, hitting those 2 shots against Kansas.
Yes.
That's what happens in the upset. And everybody's behind you.
It's one of those things where the longer the game goes, the more that you are Matt Damon at the Rounders table.
We're playing with house money, boys.
The more that if you got a little alligator blood, when you play these top seeds, you have a chance. And Omaha, that was one thing. And this reminds me back, and I know the joke is that it always goes back to Northwestern basketball, right? Northwestern.
Sorry, go Cats.
It was last year. They played UConn in the second round, okay? And UConn ended up killing them. But I said, hey, look, if we got a shot at winning this, it's going to be UConn is going to come out and they don't have it. Okay, they just don't hit
shots. The legs feel heavy.
Shots. Yeah, they just don't have it. And the first 4 minutes of the game, you're like, never mind, UConn's got it.
All right, let Dan Hurley.
I don't think St. John's is that team. I don't think I just don't.
We just said they don't hit shots very well.
They're just not one of those teams now.
And you're waiting all day to play.
This St. John's team, which is why they're so damn good, it's like they're a closer at the Kentucky Derby.
Yeah.
When you get to the last 10 minutes of the game, they are going to.
What do you say? What's the analogy you use? Turn the faucet off?
They turn the faucet.
And that's what happened against Creighton. It was like, whoa, what happened here? They were right there in good shape. And yeah.
Omaha's got something, man.
Hey, and if they do that, you shake their hand.
Zach writes into the Equitable.
Hi, Zach.
Equitable Bank inbox.
Don't feel bad. This isn't a you thing.
Zach writes in, Texas fires coaches that make the NCAA tournament. Must be rough. Nebraska doesn't fire a coach for going Big Ten 37-82 and overall 80-108, while missing the NCAA tournament 5 of 6 seasons and finishing at the very bottom of the conference more often than not. That is why Nebraska basketball will always be where Nebraska basketball has always been.
Lincoln?
It's not. Nebraska. Lincoln. Yes.
Yeah.
It's.
No, I'm saying they'll be in Lincoln.
They'll be in Lincoln.
Yeah.
It's just.
Watching TV today.
It comes back to one of those points where it's the guy won the Big Ten Coach of the Year last year, and he has proven in his past to be a pretty, at times, pretty damn good coach. At the same time, I want to stop hearing, especially after what Pat Kelsey has done and Dusty May has done and all these other, for Mark Byington and Vanderbilt. I want to stop hearing the whole, can we get a better coach than Fred Hoiberg? Fred Hoiberg is a damn good coach, but there are other teams across the nation who Jimmy Palmer writes pretty damn good coach. Yeah, overall, like I still think how and when Iowa State, like,
they were good.
And they made the tournament last year. I mean, and there are things that Fred Hoiberg has done. I think overall, Fred Hoiberg's a good coach. But when we get back to this discussion of can Nebraska basketball get anyone better, number one, it comes down to do they want to get anyone better?
That's the thing nobody ever asked.
Like, do they want to? Do they want to get someone better? Because if they want to commit to go and get someone better, it's up to them. And number two is like you look at across the country, there are plenty of teams who have gotten first-year head coaches and they're in the tournament, then being able to turn things around. And we've proven this year that can happen. So it just, at the end of the day, it just comes back to how does the athletic department want to treat and how much respect do they want to give Nebraska basketball? And I think they want to give a decent amount of respect to Nebraska basketball, but we have to remember, Fred Hoiberg.
Great fan support.
Fred Hoiberg last year was the Big Ten Coach of the Year. Fred Hoiberg last year.
People really do forget
built a pretty damn good roster. Fred Hoiberg last year had a very special team and was able to build a ton of interest into Nebraska basketball. I understand all of the pushback on that. And you know what? I'm right here with you. And I've been the one.
You've been at the games.
I've been the one who's been saying the other points as well. The fact that the record isn't good enough and one NCAA tournament appearance in 6 seasons isn't good enough.
I have texts from you during games.
I know. So I'm on both sides of the fence here, guys. I think that you can play. There are arguments on both sides, which is why I think that Nebraska, has decided that they're going at this point that they're going to keep him, and that they're going to give him another year. And so it's just there are a couple bounces of the basketball and maybe a couple bad calls away from making the tournament. It's just such a weird and polarizing season. But just in general, like the one argument I won't take is they can't hire a better coach than Fred Hoiberg. That's the absolute number one argument I won't stand for, because you look across the country, there have been other teams who've been able to hire coaches and find success right away. So it can be done. Okay. So always want to throw that out there. That's always where I want to be in terms of that sentiment. John writes in, I won't watch a single game of the NCAA tournament, and you think I will watch Nebraska play in the Crown? You are nuts. I can't stand basketball. This is the worst week of the year. John, you're in the minority, bud. You're in the minority. And we'll finally go to our final email. Joey goes, okay, I understand we all are upset about how Nebraska finished, but I'm over it. Nebraska fans, stop kicking yourself in the nuts and pay attention to Omaha and Creighton. It seems like we like to suffer. Again, it sucks, but time to focus elsewhere. I think that's
tremendous flexibility if you can kick yourself in the nuts.
I think Omaha definitely has earned the right for people to pay attention to them. And it's funny enough, Joey writes in about talking to people or people stop being upset about Nebraska basketball. Funny enough, we're going to bring in a guest that I know for a fact is still upset about Nebraska basketball, and that's Stephen M. Sipple. The best damn interview in the state and the best damn interview of the week. Don't go anywhere. We are rocking right now. It's a rocking day. It's a rocking weekend. And with all that together, we bring on our very rocking guest, Mr. Stephen M. Sipple. Just you and me today, Sip. How you doing?
Wait a second. Matt?
Yes.
It is Matt.
It's me.
Wow, you're going solo.
I've been going solo all week.
Our boy's
Mr.
growing up.
Sipple. I'm growing up right in front of your eyes. Can you believe it? I've been driving this bus for the last 4 days. Isn't that irresponsible?
I'm not laying that down, and I'm being serious. That's hard. It's not easy. It's a terrifying thing. For, non-professionals like me to man a show.
Well, I'll tell you something right now. I got two good teachers with Mr. Jimmy Chavez and Gary Sharp at the helm. So I've been trained. Sip, I've been here for almost 4 months now. It doesn't time fly by?
Yeah, but you're not exactly a wily veteran.
No, absolutely not. Absolutely.
No, but here's the thing: your willingness to do it, I commend. I commend your willingness to say, "I'm going to take this show, this morning show, which is a big show, and I'm going to handle this." It's really impressive.
I appreciate it.
He calls for the ball in every possession, and we give it to him.
You've always been very great for me. Look, you're a wily veteran. Let's talk about this. What is today's setup for you? Are you on the couch? Are you in a lazy boy? Have you catered food? Where are you going to be watching the game? What's the deal? How I know
you and Bullet on the couch.
I know you got an elite setup for today's happenings.
Not terribly, because I got to kind of do things around work. I have something work-wise at 1.
Okay.
So I'm going to watch Creighton up as long as I possibly can. Watch Creighton, Louisville at the house as long as I possibly can, then go downtown and do some work stuff that I have to do probably till 3:30. And then I just then the radio station I work at has a big event at a wings place.
Hell yeah.
Nice.
I need to make an appearance there. I have a guest coming into town. They'll be in that. So there's a lot. I'll probably settle back in at about 6 and watch the night game.
Oh my God. I see. Here's the thing. You say you don't have an elite setup, but then you give me a breakdown of your entire daily schedule that is basically around.
And we want to go with him.
We're going to watch the games. We'll go with you anywhere, Sipple.
Yeah.
I mean, you tell us, we'll be there. We know where the good food is at. Hey, I got to ask you this. I know you're on the Husker beat. You're in Lincoln. That's not a breaking news to anybody, but you've been around this state in general for a very, 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 very long time. And you have seen UNO go from, not being in D1 to D1, and now they're in the NCAA tournament. To just put in words, what do you think this accomplishment means for that university?
I want to be smart about this.
Yeah.
It means a lot. I mean, it means a lot for Omaha. It means a lot for that university. It means a lot for the sporting community and the casual observer. I think that where I come from on this is I'm pretty casual about following Omaha.
Yeah.
Yet I go back a long way. I go back to Dean the Dream Thompson, which you guys probably don't know who that is. He was a great Omaha player.
I do because of Gary.
Okay, yeah, Dean the Dream was incredible.
That's an awesome name.
When I was a kid.
Yeah.
And so UNO's been on my Omaha now. It's been on my in my consciousness for a long time.
Yeah.
Now I started looking at them as late in the season as they were making, this run that it was pretty clear that they had a great chance to make the tournament.
Yeah.
I started looking at the coach, Crutchfield. Wow. His name is, I think it's Chris Crutchfield, right?
Yes, Chris Crutchfield.
Right. And I mean, you look at his background, he recruited Trae Young.
Yeah.
He recruited Buddy Hield.
Mm-hmm.
Almost say no more.
Yeah.
He recruited the National Player of the Year, and he recruited one of the absolute best players in the NBA.
Yeah.
To Oklahoma.
Yeah.
In both cases. Had a great run with Oklahoma. Went to Oregon.
Yeah.
He's a very impressive resume guy. And now as a head coach, look what he's done. They're going to get a handful tonight, but I know Omaha does have, they're big athletic team, and maybe they can hang in there for a while.
You look at Crutchfield's resume a little bit, and you're like, how the hell did this guy last this long without getting a head coaching job, right? I mean, it's an incredible resume.
You get out of your comfort zone. I don't know the nuances of that conversation, but he does have a very strong resume, and he's been involved in. And I'm not saying he was the only recruiter for Trae Young and Buddy.
Oh, no. Everyone knows who said no. You're right there. You're right. I mean, you.
But
yeah,
to be involved with those two names got my attention.
Absolutely.
It's everybody.
A UNO alum as well, and just knows the university very well, and not only a great recruiter, but a phenomenal developer as well. And so it's awesome that the Blue Jays are in the tournament and everybody's excited for that. But there's a lot of excitement for what will happen later tonight. All right, let's go from UNO basketball to Nebraska football, the most seamless transition, if you will. Rule made a lot of headlines earlier in the year. Even before spring started, about the spring game, right? And being kind of the first university to get up on the telephone pole and be like, hey, we're canceling it, and this is why we're going to do it. But it was interesting with Dion this week. It's one of those things where these guys, they don't really throw shade at each other, but they typically sit on the opposite sides of certain issues, right? And, regardless, they have a lot of respect for one another. But Dion, pitched the idea of having these NFL joint practices and then leading that into a competitive spring football game. Your take on it, do you think it's actually feasible? And do you think there would actually be a benefit for schools to do this kind of cross training essentially with other Power 5 schools that they aren't going to play on their schedule?
First of all, I love the conversation. I think about it a lot, and I've thought about it a lot over the years. I mean, it's not necessarily something that just came up.
Sure.
This is something we've talked about, at least 5 or 10 years ago. It's been in my mind. It's nuanced, like a lot of conversations. Mm-hmm. What might be good at Colorado or Syracuse or some other places might not be good at some other places. And also it's situational in my mind. If a coach, and I'm not suggesting that this is Matt Rule, but if a coach is on the hot seat, the proverbial hot seat, and you bring in a team to play the spring game and it doesn't go well, then you just have another loss, basically.
Yeah.
Now I sit next to a guy, Bill Bush, who's a long time college football coach, 30 years. Now he dismisses that. I don't though. I've covered Nebraska for a long time, and I know that, for instance, if Nebraska, if Rule were in some sort of trouble and you brought in North Dakota State, and North Dakota State happened to beat you or even play you close, it's just more fodder for detractors. And when I say that, okay, that's not such a big deal. Well, it is a big deal because that negative energy affects programs.
Absolutely.
And now, are you inviting that in the spring? And then if you win, what do you really get out of it? It's almost, it just depends on where you're talking. If you go to, I don't know, it's just so dependent on the school you're talking about. Colorado, Syracuse, really good idea.
Yeah.
Colorado fan base, not that engaged this time of year.
Sure.
They have hockey. They have an NBA team that could win it all, probably. Long shot in this case, but they're paying attention to a lot of different.
It's
things.
always about the Broncos there.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that too. And so Dion can do this, but there's a lot of places where it'd be kind of tricky.
Now, do you think you'd ever get to the point where, hey, the benefit is so high, it doesn't matter what the media outlook would be for Nebraska? Or is it just kind of one of those things that the Huskers have to live with, and that's just, maybe the double-edged sword of having such a interest on the team?
I got to tell you, I mean, the way I think about it, the way I've thought about it is I just wish it would happen, and then just you deal with the fallout, whatever that fallout.
Yeah.
I love the idea is what I'm telling you.
Yeah. Oh, me too. Me too. I'm all over it.
Yeah. Think of how it would juice up our spring if Kansas State came up,
Absolutely.
for a game, or Nebraska went there and played.
Oh, I'd root against
that. And iron sharpens iron too, right? I mean, when you up the competition, you up the motivation. And and you know this, like, I'm sure these guys, after a certain period of time, kind of get tired of playing against one another, and they get to, learn certain things. And then it's not actual reps where you're getting better, where it's more so, well, I'm going up against this guy and I know that this guy's weakness is this. And so maybe I'll try and expose it to look good. Like it's, I don't know, when you bring in new blood and you bring in new people that you may not know, you get better that way, right?
Well, 100%. I agree with that. It's just, again, the conversation, as it does in a lot of cases with the sport of football, it gets sort of, there's complications. Like now, like Sean Callahan, with whom I work at Husker Online, will always bring up, now, do you really want to spend your $1 million tackle and your nearly your $1 million guard and your these highly paid players out play a meaningless spring game and risk things? I mean, there's that what you're saying, iron sharpens iron. Yeah, with that there is some risk, but see, that's what I mean. I will say this: I think Matt Rule, if there's ever a coach, it sounds kind of funny given what he said, but I mean, I think he seems open-minded to things like this. I get what he said about the spring game, but that's more. I don't read that as Matt saying he's worried about injuries. He's just worried about getting poached.
Yeah.
People watching the spring game and poaching his guys. Rule tackles a lot. I mean, he's, as far as head coaches that I've covered, starting with Tom Osborne. As far as the amount of tackling, he's high end.
Mm-hmm.
They tackle a lot.
Sure.
So I don't think he's not going to run from that part of the conversation. I just think it's the poaching part.
So let's talk about the poaching part, because a ton has been made about the tampering of players, right? But we've seen, and more so in college basketball, just because that's the season we're in, where there is some tampering with coaches, right? There are coaches in the middle of the season. They're getting contacted by different athletic departments about going ahead and, potentially being the next head coach of their team. Now that we've made such a big deal about player tampering, is it a little hypocritical that we don't make any deal about coach tampering and that we don't put that out to the ether, and that's not that's not something we're constantly talking about as a problem in college sports in general? And would you think there would be a benefit if there was transparency within coaches interviewing for other jobs across sports like the NFL does it?
I don't know how to answer that. I don't.
Sure.
Coach tampering.
Because these teams are reaching out to these coaches while they're in the middle of the season, right? And we can't act as if it doesn't slightly affect, or couldn't slightly affect, coaches if they are coaching their one team, knowing that, hey, now I have an added benefit of doing well because this other job, which may pay me more and give me more resources, is interested in me.
Yeah, I'd never look at it the same, because we're still dealing with young college guys.
Sure.
And it's not really, I don't look at a 56-year-old that's contemplating another job the same way I look at a 17-year-old who's, and I've heard the 17-year-olds, I've heard them on the sideline, what they say. Did you get your bag? Did you, that sort of thing.
That's a drop.
You don't hear, look at my bling, and that stuff goes on. And I said, no, I look at it as it's generally a different conversation that you could come back with. Well, Rocco Spindler's 23 years old. He's pretty much a grown man. It's different. Again, nuance. It's nuance. College football there's so many instances of nuance, but I've never subscribed to that whole thing of, well, coaches can move, so players should be able to. I don't look at it the same. Coaches generally don't move whimsically.
Sure.
Players often move whimsically. I just want to play somewhere else. I don't know why. Just want to go somewhere else.
Yeah.
Generally, coaches aren't that way. So no, I've never looked at it like players should be able to move because coaches can. Two different conversations to me. But listen, Matt, there's a lot of people that would side with you on that.
Sure. And it's just such an interesting conversation now to have because the player side of tampering has become such a big deal, and rightfully so. And it's it is a novelty that we haven't experienced that in college sports, which is why people make such a deal. But it's just when you look at it the other way, it's just weird when we take something as bad, as terrible, but then when you put it with the different people, but it's the same thing, it's, oh no, that's normal, which is why it's one of those interesting conversations.
It kind of is. I don't see it the same way.
I agree. It's not 1-to-1. I don't think it's 1-to-1. There definitely are some there are nuances with it, like you said.
Yeah, a coach actively recruiting off another coach's roster during the season.
Yeah.
Come on. What do we do?
But you look at the other way, Steve. Steve, you look at the other way. You have an athletic department actively recruiting another coach on another athletic department.
Yeah. Again, I don't.
Yeah. No, it's
not a direct correlation.
It's a classic radio combo, which is why I ask you in a classic radio interview. Hey, before we get you out of here, Steve Sipple, Husker Online. When Tony White left and he brought Terrence Knight in with him, and the other coaches who left for other various reasons on Matt Rhule's coaching staff, there definitely was kind of a negativity toward it, right? Obviously when you have some of these coaches who've done really, really good jobs and they just get up and left, and some of them abruptly, you freak out. But is it unfair to say at this point, considering the people that Matt Rhule has replaced these guys with in the certain continuity, that despite the fact that Tony White is an incredible, incredible defensive coordinator who I'm a really, really big fan of, do you think it kind of worked to the benefit that these things within the coaching staff happened for Matt Rhule?
No way I'd say that before they play a game.
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
I'm not getting on that train. I've done that over the years and I'm not doing it anymore. Did he upgrade? I can't. April, whatever. What is today? March.
It's March 20th. We're not in April yet.
Yeah,
that's the first day of spring, though.
To say that they've upgraded would be. I don't know how you can. They haven't played a game yet.
Okay.
So we'll see what it looks like. Also, I don't regard Tony as an incredible coach.
I do.
I think he did. I think he did a good job here. And that's the way Rhule. And I don't think there's any accident that Rhule kept phrasing it that way. He did a good job here.
Yeah.
They couldn't get off the field on third down. I mean, there's too many instances where it's 3rd and 7. They still couldn't get off the field. So I don't know. I think he did a good job. I
Sure.
think it was far from great, and I do definitely think it can get better. And maybe you can. Again, it's college football. It's interesting. If you look at total defense, I think they're 12th or 14th, top 15 defense. But if you look at the stat that matters most to me, which is average yards per play, they're like 48th in the country.
Yeah,
pretty average defense.
Well, we Steve, you and I go down the rabbit hole with this stuff, absolutely. But you make great points in that regard. But there is a reason why the new defensive coordinator stepped up to the podium and said, we need to get better at red zone and third down coverage. And there's a reason why Phil Snow stepped up to the podium and said, hey, we need to be more multiple and more professional in this regard, because those guys, Snow and Butler, bring that experience and maybe uniqueness that Tony hasn't, been able to acquire because he hasn't been in the places those guys have been in. And so you're spot on in that regard. And you're spot on the fact that, we make a really, really big deal about what this coaching staff could be, but we are all in the I'll believe when I see it point with Nebraska football, for sure.
I've never been more in that. Yeah, I've never been more in that mode than I am now.
You should be, though. We all should be. With what this team has done over the 8-9 years, it shouldn't be anything other than that.
Yeah, let's see. Let's see what this staff has. I don't know. I'm open-minded. I think it could be really good, but I don't. How do you say it without? They're in the best coaching conference in the land, so
yeah,
they're going to get tested, and we'll see how it looks.
Hey, I love it when these interviews turn into conversations with you, Steve. You're the absolute best, and thank you so much for coming on. And always appreciate the kind words. And we'll talk to you in a week. All right, my man.
Yeah, I'm serious. Keep up the good work, and we'll talk soon.
Appreciate it. Mr. Stephen N. Sipple of Husker Online. Hey, he's a 1 seed in the Michael Severe broadcasting best broadcasting.
He should be.
Guest bracket. He absolutely deserves it, and he's on his way to a title. And he is the god dang.
That's going to end up going chalk, isn't it? Minus.
Yeah, I mean, but it's a little bit like the NCAA tournament. You're going to have a couple little cute, upsets, and I don't want to call Jacob Bigelow's upset cute, but it was pretty damn good, and you'll have some pretty damn good upsets in this NCAA tournament. But more than likely, we're on our way to 3 number 1 seeds and 1 2 seed. But you know what? That brings for the best matchups. We have great matchups. We have great guests. We have a incredible guest coming up next. Everybody knows I got my big board, biased. But this guy has his big board, and he does it as a professional. Let's make some Monet with Brian Edwards coming up next. We welcome in Mr. Brian Edwards here. Brian, I know you know that I have my board, but everybody tunes in to hear your board and what you like today. And by the way, happy basketball day / Merry Christmas to all of us. Hey, let's get right into it. What are your favorites of the day?
Well, my favorite, I would say, it doesn't really apply to today.
Sure.
Just in general, is the Gators to win the West region at even money.
Okay.
I think that should be a very large wager if you're into such things.
Okay.
But for today, let's start with BYU.
Hell yeah.
A lot of advantages for BYU in this game. You know, VCU had to play in the Atlantic 10 Friday, Saturday, Sunday, get back to Richmond Sunday night. And, they get punished for doing well in their conference tournament by getting sent out west into altitude, 4-hour flight to play BYU in Denver, where BYU is accustomed to altitude and had a 55-minute flight. And they got done playing Friday when they lost in the Big 12 tournament semifinals. And then BYU has won 9 of its last 10, going 8-2 against the spread. And I just think BYU's better, and they've got, those advantages that I spoke of. Altitude is a real thing. So give me BYU minus 2, 2.5, 3.
Yep.
I haven't looked here.
Sharpen betting in the morning on.
Another thing too, though, I want to add this: BYU 9-1 in their last 10 straight up, 8-2 against the spread during that time.
Yep.
So.
Yep.
Something to look out for. Hey, you got a couple more here. Let's talk about the big one. Bill Self taking on John Calipari. What one hell of a coaching matchup.
Well, yeah, my concern with this one is that there's an enormous head coaching advantage toward Bill Self. But Arkansas is in better form, and we're getting 5, and they're getting Boogie Flan back. I believe so. They've said that all week. Cal seemed to hedge on it yesterday, but look, they're playing great with or without him. But they've had a 7-man rotation, so if they have him back, that's great. Averaging 14.9 points, 5.7 assists, and it was a hand injury, so I wouldn't think his cardio would be that much of an issue. Kansas is in bad form, 7-8 straight up, 5-10 ATS since January 25th. Arkansas 8-5 straight up, 9-3-1 against the spread in its last 13. But 2 of the 3 non-covers were by the hook. 1 combined point. And Arkansas 6-2 against the spread, 3 outright wins. Their last 8 as underdogs. I like the Hogs.
Yeah, we've been making money off the Razorbacks for sure. Hey, let's go over to a really high over/under mark, but it's with one of the best scoring teams in the country. Bama takes on Robert Morris.
Yeah, let's go over 165.5. Alabama's had totals higher than 165.5 in 10 of their last 11 games. And they've had 169 combined points or more in 9 of their last 10, and even better, in 8 of their last 9, they've had 179 combined or more. Ken Palm has Bama number 1 in the country, adjusted tempo, number 4 in offensive efficiency. I like it over.
Hey, all right, you got plenty of more overs too, and a couple of parlays. I'll just let you take the floor. Take us home. What's your board?
Yeah, let's go St. John's in Omaha.
All right.
Omaha has got the over 14-6 in its last 20. Let's go over 148. St. John's, Omaha. Let's go Missouri, Drake. Over, I got 132. It might be 133 now.
Yeah.
Over on an 8-1 run for Missouri. And Missouri's played 33 games. Only twice have they had combined scores of less than 133. They had 131 to A&M and 114 to Texas. And this is Missouri's lowest total of the season. They've only had 2 totals in the 130s. They were 139 and 135. Both went way over. Let's also, smaller opinion, but I'm going with 2 dogs in Drake and Yale at Drake either +6 or 6.5, Yale +7 or 7.5. And I'm not against the Yale A&M over 139. Let's also go Florida's team total over 91 tomorrow night. Let's go Georgia +6.5 or 7 to Gonzaga. And then tomorrow night, let's go Oklahoma. They are +5.5 to UConn. Oklahoma's covered 7 in a row, winning 4 outright. And the 3 losses were by 5 combined points. And in those last 7, they were underdogs of 3.5 points or more every time. And Oklahoma's been a dog 18 times, 12-6 against the spread with 8 outright wins. I like the Sooners there.
Hey, you got anything else? That was perfect. Let's make some money.
Yeah, let's see. What else do I have?
Can I tell you mine? Can I tell you my board and you tell me whether or not you like it?
All
right. I got 4 picks on the board here. All right. First one, Drake +6. Okay. Drake's been killing it in terms of
that one too.
Just I really like the style of play. I don't think it matches up well against Mizzou. Mizzou had a bit of a rough year, so I just think taking that number, it's a little bit too big for me in general. Just to not take it, right? All right, BYU -2. You and I are both on that. BYU's been killing it against the spread. And they got Richie Saunders, and they've been playing some of the best basketball in the country. Then UC San Diego +2.5. I know that a lot of people are on it. I know that the money is leaning a little bit toward Michigan, even though that most of the bets are on UC San Diego, indicating some sharp money. But I look at these matchups, Brian, I just love how UC San Diego matches up against Michigan.
Yeah, they're better rested, and they're a great against the spread team. Right there, best in the nation most of the year. And the only thing I didn't play that game. I did have two. I have 2 brackets. One, I have UC San Diego in the Sweet 16. My betting strategy is that I hope Michigan gets a little bit of lead, and I can get a live bet on UC San Diego getting more than 2.5, getting like 5 or 6.
All right, I'll give you one more too on the back of my board. I like Purdue -7. I just say Purdue is weak in the paint, but what High Point does best is shoot threes. I just don't think they're going to be taking advantage of the things that Purdue does the worst. And on top of that, if we're getting into an offensive battle between these two teams, why not take the Boilermakers?
Well, you're getting the best of the number too. I mean, that number opened double digits at a lot of spots. And so you're getting a good number. Like the value's kind of been sucked out of High Point. I'm a pass on that game, but I'm not against it. I'm not against it.
Hey, before we let you go, can you give us just one 13, 14, 15 seed upset you think might take place on a limb?
Yale has got a really good chance. And let me add a stat on Drake, and I was on that as well. Drake is 6-0 both straight up and against the spread as an underdog this year.
I love it. All righty. Well, we're going. We're going to make those bets, Brian. We'll see you next week where we'll make more money. Appreciate you as always.
Now, you remember my best bet, right?
Florida in December on the future, right?
Even money to win the West.
Oh,
region.
even
that
money
should be
to
your biggest bet.
Yes, man.
That's stealing. That's legal.
Hey, I got your Gators winning it all, BE.
All right, man. Let's go.
I got to win it all. Let's do it, man. All right. We'll see you next week. Vegas Insider, Brian Edwards. Always the best.
All right, man.
Appreciate
y'all
you.
have a great weekend.
You too. Hey, everybody have a great week.
Show your big board to the studio camera because I turned it on. Look at the work he put in.
Let's go. And you know what? Tomorrow we'll be back, and it'll be Matt's even bigger board because we're going to have a lot more picks on this one. Even look behind, baby.
This is what happens when you have a blizzard.
4 picks. Drake +6. BYU -2. Yale +7. UCSD +2.5. Take it to the bank. We'll see you tomorrow where we're hopefully celebrating a Creighton win and an Omaha win. Listen to Gary and Matt.